A man walks down the street, talking on the phone about never having felt anything. This has been the case from the first meeting until now, because love can be very different. Even so, he is going to marry Yumin. As for his family, she could be a salvation. Therefore, he is willing to declare his love to her every day if necessary. Only he doesn't know that, at that moment, the girl is feeding a kitten around the corner. And she hears everything. Yumin and Aisian are sitting in a cafe during the Christmas holidays. The cafe is full of people. The girls at the next table are commenting on the latest local celebrity news. Kim Aisian is looking at something on her tablet, while Choi Yumin silently looks out the window. He asks her if she has thought about where they will hold their wedding yet. The girl doesn't answer and convinces herself that she will get over it, recalling the feeling she had to experience. Yumin says the first place would suit her better and asks if Jae Seon is really marrying her. According to her boyfriend, marrying her is an incredible fortune for him. He always spoke to her very sweetly, and the protagonist always liked it, as she didn't know how everything would end. Jae Seon strokes Yumin's hand, assuring her that he is only affectionate with her. Finally decided, the protagonist smiles and tells her fiancé that she is tired of being with him. The girl hopes to hurt him as much as Kim Jae hurt her. Gathering all her strength, Yumin asks her fiancé to forget about the wedding. The customers in the cafe, hearing the couple's conversation, follow the tense scene. Kim Jae-seon wants to know why the girl suddenly made that decision. Without stopping smiling, the protagonist replies that she is too good for him. The girls at the next table, mouth agape, watch the unfolding drama. The cafe employees, forgetting their tasks, are amazed at how she can act like that on Christmas. Yumin decides to put an end to this and asks Kim Jae to stop this conversation. 3 months have passed. A loving couple walks down the street, lost in their feelings. Suddenly, a girl passes by them, so ghost-like that they get scared. Yumin, in a baggy sweatshirt, tired and disheveled, goes to work dragging a heavy bag. She glances at the sweet couple, recalling that she was like that too once. The protagonist realizes that she feels envy and understands that, apparently, she hasn't recovered from the breakup yet, since she had to overcome the end of a 6-year relationship, whose efforts suddenly became useless. In the office, Yumin's work continues, and everyone awaits the boss's arrival. When the girl arrives late to work, the employees jump out of their seats. They watch the exhausted boss drag herself across the office, dropping fabric samples, and they suggest she rest. When Yumin goes to the break room, the girls rush to pick up the fallen samples and comment on her state. They worry that the boss has been working too hard in recent months, and that she looks paler every day. They fear the cause is company problems, and even think they will have to look for a new job. Yumin overhears their conversations and tries to pull herself together, realizing it's stupid to be so devastated over her ex. She cannot allow the company, in which she has invested so much effort, to falter because of something like this. Therefore, the protagonist decides to sleep a little and regain strength. However, she doesn't stay like that for long, but gets up, angry with herself for worrying so much about that scoundrel. Song Jae-hee enters the break room to ask Yumin if she feels better. The heroine smiles and confesses that she already feels much better. Jae-hee was startled to see her friend enter the office. That's why she brought her hot tea. She explains to Yumin that she shouldn't push herself so hard, since it could affect her health. Gigi knows that the girl took refuge in work after her painful breakup, but it's too much. She thinks of inviting Yumin out somewhere after work. Today is the birthday of a well-known influencer who promotes her bags for free. Gigi suggests Yumin change after work and get distracted a little, and she accepts. At night, the girls arrive at a bar full of influencers and other famous people. The birthday girl So Jiyeon greets them cheerfully and thanks her guests for coming. Despite their busy schedules, Yumin offers her friend a drink, but she needs to go to the restroom for a moment. The protagonist promises her friend to look for an empty table and wait for her there. It's been so long since she went to parties, she even feels a little nervous. With some snacks, Yumin sits down and observes the people she sees on social media. Suddenly, at the next table, she sees a boy sitting alone. She asks him if he is a friend of the birthday girl, but he only replies no. Yumin bombards him with questions, trying to chat, but he is monosyllabic. Not only does he not look at her, but he suddenly asks her to stop flirting with him. That said, the boy turns to Yumin, finally deigning to show his face. She decides not to talk to him anymore, but he approaches and stares at her so intensely that she gets scared. The stranger asks if they have seen each other before, but Yoo-min doesn't remember. The girl doesn't understand why the boy so abruptly changed his tactic. If a moment ago he didn't even look at her, he insists on knowing if she is a celebrity. But Yoo-min affirms that she is an ordinary person. Clearly, the boy confused her with someone else, because their conversation ended there. The phone rings, and the stranger answers the call. Suddenly, he jumps up from his chair and runs towards the exit so fast that he knocks her over. On the way, the boy drops his wallet and Yoo-min, noticing it, picks it up from the floor. Finding an ID in the name of Oh Hyun-do, the girl runs after him to return what he lost. Yoo-min can't find the boy and worries. Will he be okay without his wallet? When the girl, desperate to find Hyun-do, is about to return to the bar to hand the lost item to the staff, she hears voices. In an alley, she sees the boy talking to someone whom Yoo-min cannot see. A girl, her face hidden under the visor of her cap, confesses to having seen Hyun-do on Taejun's social media. The boy gets furious. How many more times does he have to repeat for her to understand and stop looking for him? Hearing him say that he dated her out of pity and never loved her, memories flood Yoo-min's mind. The boy admits that he can't take it anymore and is tired of her behavior. He asks the girl to stop pretending she doesn't understand anything and acting so pathetically. Hyun-do proposes to end all this and for each of them to go their own way. However, the girl is sure that he will be by her side for life and will tell her he loves her again. According to him, he would have done so before, but he is tired of pretending to love her. The boy is fed up with the poor performance of love, because for all these years, he has suffered greatly pretending to have feelings. Suddenly, Yoo-min comes out from the corner and throws the wallet at the boy right at the back of his head. For her, the worst type of partner is one who lies about their love and deceives their beloved. This is exactly how her ex-boyfriend, whom she dated for 6 long years, acted. He spoke to her of love and promised marriage only because he saw Yoo-min as his savior. Jae-song believed it was his way of paying his debt, but it only made things worse. And right now, with Hyun-do approaching and staring at her, she realizes the extent of her mistake. Song Jae-hee comes out of the restroom and tries to find Yoo-min, who promised to save them a table. She finally spots her friend, engaged in a conversation with a strange boy. At that moment, a blonde approaches her from behind, looking in the same direction. Song Jae turns around, surprised by the closeness of the stranger invading her personal space. The boy apologizes clumsily, explaining that he was looking for a friend and didn't see her coming. Song Jae asks if his friend is the boy sitting next to her friend. Upon confirming it and learning that he is single, she happily notes that her friend is single too. He replies that he is also free, and that could be a stroke of luck for both of them. Realizing he is flirting, Sanji wonders if it's okay, as he seems younger. At that moment, they both notice that their friends have suddenly disappeared. Hyun-do gets angry, assumes she was following him, and tries to find out who she is. Yoo-min tries to explain that she was following him, but she wasn't spying as he thinks. The heroine gets nervous. He might have misinterpreted everything. While Hyun-do finds out if she was recording something, she pulls her visor down even further. Then silently, she turns around and leaves, leaving him with the stalker. To justify herself, Yoo-min suggests Hyun-do examine the object she threw at him. She is indignant at the boy's words about her following him like a rat, when she only wanted to return his wallet. Hyun-do sighs and, turning around, notices that the girl he was arguing with has already left. He realizes that the one who returned his wallet obviously doesn't know who he was talking to. Therefore, he apologizes to Yoo-min for having misunderstood everything. He wants to thank the girl for returning his wallet, but she refuses to accept his gratitude. Hyun-do comments that she has a rather original way of returning lost items. With irony in his voice, he asks if she always throws things at people's necks. Yoo-min would like to reply that he simply triggered her breaking point by speaking to his girlfriend like that, but she understands she must apologize, so she asks Hyun-do for forgiveness. Deep down, the truth is she doesn't care about anything, and he knows it well. Yoo-min decides to return to the party, and Hyun-do follows her without hesitation. Taejun shows Song Jae photos of his cafe with his friend, currently under renovation, and suggests they visit soon. Yoo-min and Hyun-do return to the bar, and her friend asks the girl where she had been. After a brief introduction, the girls go for drinks. Song Jae is eager to know where Yoo-min went with that stranger. The protagonist explains that nothing unusual happened between them. Omitting details, she tells him she simply found a wallet he lost and returned it to him. Jian is also curious to know what his friend was doing with that girl. But Hyun-do ignores the question and snaps at him for posting his photo on social media. Jun did upload the photo with the birthday girl, where Hyun-do is visible, although he doesn't understand how he knew if he doesn't have an account. The friend says goodbye and prepares to leave the party. Jun tells him to stay and drink with these girls. After all, his cafe is closed for renovations. But Hyun-do isn't interested in any of that and rejects the offer. The assistant asks Seo-young, now in the car, how much longer she will wear that wig. The girl pauses to think and completely forgets she is still wearing the disguise. She takes off the cap with the wig and looks for her phone. To the assistant's question about whether she spoke well with Hyun-do, she nods and takes a picture. The car passes by illuminated billboards where the face of the famous actress is visible, and model Hong Seo-young. She can't help but feel that Hyun-do said all those horrible things to her on purpose. The assistant is amazed at how So-young is unaffected by that treatment, but she is sure that Hyun-do wouldn't abandon her for something like that. It seems to her that he is probably waiting for her call right now. To the assistant, her words sound like too much confidence, and he even pities the guy. So-young remembers when a stranger threw something at Hyun-do's neck and wonders who it could be. It could be a hater who tracked her down to attack her. However, when So-young was leaving, it seemed to her that the girl was watching Hyun-do more than her. The boy is at home, sitting on the sofa, emptying beer cans one after another. He remembers when So-young called him while he was at the club and told him she would wait for him outside. Despite the cold, Hyun-do gets angry with himself for running like an idiot at the girl's call. With just her calling him, he swears that, starting today, he won't even answer if she calls. The boy receives a message from Jun, who suggests he reconsider and join him. He is drinking with girls they met at a bar and promises his friend he will have fun if he comes. As proof of how well they are doing, Jun sends a photo to Hyun-do. The boy looks at the girl who threw the wallet at him, who, however, looks very familiar. Hyun-do cannot recall for sure, and maybe she visited his cafe. He pushes those thoughts away, as none of that matters since they won't see each other again. Then, Hyun-do couldn't imagine that those expectations would be shattered in a week, and the girl would be standing, pressed against his chest. So-young is checking social media, humming to herself. The photo she uploaded yesterday has already received over 30,000 likes. The girl enters Gaeon's profile, hoping to find Hyun-do among his photos. Since the boy is not on any social media, she doesn't have many ways to know what he is doing. So-young's assistant enters the room, bringing the girl a new stylist. Meanwhile, the actress wonders if she should text Hyun-do or if he will ignore her again. The assistant introduces Seo-young to Ha Kyung, who admires the celebrity. The girls greet each other, expressing hope for a successful collaboration. The assistant suggests they go down and do their things together. Ha Kyung is incredibly happy and already imagines telling Yoo-min that she will work with Seo-young. Hyun-do receives a message from his ex-girlfriend, who wants to know where he moved, but decides not to reply, because So-young knows perfectly well that he moved, as she used to get angry with him. The boy initiated the breakup, so now he sees no point in talking. He wants his ex to feel what it's like to wait for someone who ignores you. Seeing kittens on the street, which he likes so much, Hyun-do takes out his phone to photograph them. At that moment, Jun calls him and tells him that he invited the girls from the bar to dinner at the cafe today. During lunch, Song-jae tells Yoo-min about the invitation. The cafe opening is in a few days, and Jun wants to invite them. The last time the three of them drank, the boy told them he worked at his friend Hyun-do's cafe. Yoo-min feels uncomfortable thinking that she will meet the one she threw the wallet at on their first encounter. She refuses, but Song-jae convinces her, as the cafe is nearby and they say, "The food is delicious." She thinks Yoo-min refuses because something happened between her and that guy that day. The girl doesn't want to say exactly what happened there, so she just denies everything. Then, Song-jae decides that the culprit is Yoo-min's ex-boyfriend, driving her friends crazy. However, in the end they manage to convince her, and at night, Jun happily greets them at the cafe door. Song-jae thanks him for the invitation, while Yoo-min squirms uncertainly behind her. The girl admires how beautiful his cafe is, and the boy agrees that the renovation turned out great. Song-jae gives him a bouquet of flowers, as she felt awkward coming empty-handed. Yoo-min is nervous. She didn't think she and Hyun-do would meet again. With trembling hands, she hands him a bottle of red wine as an opening gift. The girls sit at the table, and Hyun-do asks Tae-jun to bring other drinks. Yoo-min looks out the window and realizes that the cafe is close to her company. Her ex-boyfriend lived in this area, but she doubts she will run into him now. Shortly after, the girls' table is full of dishes. Yoo-min tastes the food and marvels at its incredible flavor. According to Tae-jun, they barely advertise their cafe, but rumors of their delicious food spread quickly, and they have many customers. For Yoo-min, it is shocking that someone like Hyun-do can also cook. But talent and character do not always go hand in hand, and the girl cannot stop eating. Tae-jun uploads a photo of the girls' gifts to social media and tags them. Sanji suggests Hyun-do follow her on social media, but he says he's not interested. Even Tae-jun manages the restaurant's page. The girl confesses that lately she's been thinking about deleting her account too, but the boy dissuades her. She complains that her ex-boyfriends constantly harass her on social media. Tae-jun thinks it's good that people come to their senses after a breakup. He had a girlfriend who, even after breaking up, spread rumors that he still loved her and missed her. Yoo-min believes that such behavior reflects the feelings of the person saying it. There are people who, out of pride, are incapable of telling the truth. Hearing these words, Hyun-do suddenly understands Seo-young's behavior. He wonders if he will ever be truly sincere with her. Yoo-min feels a dark aura suddenly loom over Hyun-do. To break the tension, she asks Song-jae how long it takes for her exes to contact her after a breakup. According to the girl, it has happened from a few weeks to a few months. Sanji believes there is only one way for ex-boyfriends to write faster. You have to show them how happy you are with someone else. The girls thank the boys for dinner and promise to return with friends. Sanji's taxi arrives, and Tae-jun, whose houses are in the same direction, leave together. Yoo-min's car hasn't arrived yet, and Hyun-do walks home as he lives nearby. The friends say goodbye and promise to text as soon as they arrive. After asking Hyun-do to take care of Yoo-min while she waits for a taxi, Sung-jae gets into the car and leaves. The boy suggests the protagonist walk to the main road to catch a taxi. As they walk towards the road, the girl only thinks of one thing. She is interested in knowing how Kim Ish-hyun will feel if he sees her happy with another man. Perhaps the person who wasn't even angry when she left him doesn't care who she is with. The protagonist pulls out her phone to check the time, but when she looks up, she freezes in surprise. Turning the corner, Kim Jae-seon walks directly toward them accompanied by a colleague. From what they are discussing, they are coming from a company party. And now, he is accompanying the girl who drank a little too much. The protagonist cannot believe she is seeing Kim Jae-seon right at this moment. 13 years ago, female students crowded in front of the school, trying to spot someone in the distance. Yoo-min and Jae-hee were seniors at the time and watched the scene from the side. The protagonist took a couple of steps forward to find out the reason for the commotion. It turned out that everyone was watching the incredibly handsome son of the Korean teacher. There is no longer the slightest doubt that Kim Jae-seon is heading directly towards Yoo-min. The protagonist wanted to meet him, but she is not ready for that yet, so she tries to think quickly what to do. Finally deciding that she urgently needed to hide, she runs towards Hyun-do and, hugging him, she covers herself with his jacket. As they pass by, a colleague of Kim Jae-seon admires how cute the couple is. Meanwhile, Hyun-do doesn't understand what Yoo-min is doing and asks her to move away. However, she begs him to be quiet and just stay like that for a couple more minutes. At that moment, Yoo-min hears Kim Jae-seon telling his colleague that he has a girlfriend. Confirming they finally rounded the corner, the protagonist emerges from under the jacket of a confused Hyun-do. He exhales in relief and asks the girl to let go if she is done. But Yoo-min, clinging to him, suddenly whispers that she dated that guy for 6 years. The bad feeling overwhelming Hyun-do is confirmed, as instantly the girl starts trembling from sobs. And so, they are already sitting together on a park bench. And Yoo-min empties another bottle of beer. Now Hyun-do knows that the girl was just trying to hide when she hugged him upon seeing her ex. The protagonist blushes and apologizes for having to act like that. However, he still doesn't understand why Yoo-min hid if she hasn't done anything wrong. The girl also doesn't know why she reacted that way. If a moment ago, she was imagining how she would greet Kim Jae-seon, but when he really appeared in front of her, she couldn't think of anything better than hiding under Hyun-do's jacket. Evidently, her subconscious instinctively made that decision, protecting her from a new wave of feelings for Kim Jae-seon. Yoo-min and Hyun-do sit silently on the bench, each thinking their own thoughts. Suddenly, the boy tells her she didn't have to hide, but greet him as usual. Because that way Kim Jae-seon might think she is also dating someone. Yoo-min is surprised she didn't think of that. Having a man by her side, she fears she will never have such an opportunity again. Hyun-do is tired and suggests Yoo-min go home. The girl apologizes to him because she drank too much and behaved badly. Staggering, the protagonist gets up from the bench behind Hyun-do. She cannot figure out if he is polite or simply indifferent. That time in the alley, he was completely ruthless with that girl. And today, he calmly endured Yoo-min's scandalous behavior. Suddenly, the protagonist gets an idea that she could follow Hyun-do's advice. But for that, she needs a man by her side. So she asks him if he is dating someone right now. Yoo-min suggests Hyun-do meet sometimes in her area. She explains that she is not trying to seduce him, but asking him to pretend to be a couple. She doesn't have anyone to start a relationship with right now. And even if she did, Yoo-min is not in a condition. In her opinion, Hyun-do is perfect for the role, since in any case, he surely won't fall in love with her. The boy doesn't answer her proposal, and at that moment, feeling dizzy, he squats down. Turning towards the girl, Hyun-do observes her for a moment and then asks her to get up. Since Yoo-min doesn't move from her spot, he turns around and leaves. However, after a minute, the boy returns and asks the protagonist what she will do for him. To Yoo-min's confusion, he asks again how much she is willing to pay him for the favor. Staggering, the girl stands up and, not knowing exactly what he needs, offers him money. Looking at the bright banner behind her with Sojong's image, he confesses to Yoo-min that he also wants to use her. 5 years ago, Hyun-do, as usual, was cleaning the house in the morning. Women's freshly washed clothes hung on the balcony in an orderly line. Hyun-do prepared breakfast and, setting the table, headed to the bedroom. He paused briefly at the door, admiring So-chung while she slept. Approaching the bed, Hyun-do sat down next to her, never taking his eyes off her. She opened her eyes and smiled at the boy who had been busy since morning. Hyun-do joked about biting So-chung's finger if she didn't get up for breakfast already. The girl promised to get up, as the aromas of her favorite dishes came from the kitchen. Yoo-min is slumped over her desk, suffering from a monumental hangover. Sunjae offers to buy her medicine or some food, but she refuses. Mixing alcohol last night was, apparently, a huge mistake. Sunjae catches her friend lying. They only drank wine together. Yoo-min doesn't want to lie to her, but she is ashamed to tell the truth. Her colleagues save her, shouting and asking if they had a double date. While Sanji scolds the girls for meddling where it's none of their business, Yoo-min receives a message. Hyun-do suggests the protagonist meet up when she has free time. 30 minutes later, Yoo-min is already on her way to the cafe where they agreed to meet. The girl feels somewhat uncomfortable after yesterday's events and thinks about how to make up for it. Upon arrival, Yoo-min looks around, as Hyun-do told her he was already there. In the end, she sees him sitting in the corner of the cafe, with so many empty seats. To her question about how long he has been waiting, Hyun-do replies not long. He immediately jumps up to bring them drinks. Yoo-min doesn't manage to tell him that she doesn't feel well and won't have coffee. But Hyun-do brings her a cup of hot tea, which will do her a world of good. The girl supposes that he must be exhausted from her drunkenness yesterday, since the poor man barely managed to put Yoo-min in the taxi. Demanding promises, the protagonist apologizes for all the nonsense she spouted yesterday, but Hyun-do suddenly interrupts her, suggesting they act like a couple, as agreed. Yoo-min thought he only accepted her offer yesterday because she was drunk and to get rid of her. But Hyun-do also wants to use her for his purposes and sees no problem in pretending to be a couple. It turns out he was speaking sincerely yesterday, and the protagonist didn't expect that at all. Since the boy agrees, she decides to tell him her plan in great detail. She wants that man to see how happy she is with another man by her side. He lives near the Hyundo Cafe, so they will have to spend time there at least once a week. Yoo-min thinks it won't be difficult. After all, they will just eat together and take a walk. The girl's plan seems more like an escape from reality, because she cannot accept that they didn't love her. And even though she left him, Yoo-min still wants to see regret in Jae-seon's eyes. Hyun-do, in reality, is not interested in the circumstances or the girl's plan in the least. Now, the boy asks her to listen to what he wants in return for this favor. On each of their dates, he will take photos. And if she refuses, he won't photograph her at all. He will open a social media account and upload photos there. Hyun-do doesn't need anything else from the girl or their meetings. He hopes that Yoo-min's mere existence can hurt Seo-young's feelings. To the protagonist, His request seems quite easy to fulfill. Yoo-min suddenly realizes that Hyun-do is pursuing the same goal as her, since he is going to register on social media he never used before. Assuming all this is because of that girl in the alley, she reflects on why he acts this way, since he was the one who left her, although, on the other hand, she does the same. Not understanding why Yoo-min is looking at him like that, Hyun-do suggests a schedule for their meetings. However, to the question of when they will end this, the girl doesn't know the answer. Because she had never considered that, Yoo-min proposes to end when each of them achieves their goal. Since this idea was met with a cold look, the girl disguises it as a joke and suggests a period of 2 months. Upon parting, they agree to put the plan into action this Sunday. Just as Hyun-do leaves, Yoo-min stops him and extends her hand. She knows she didn't make the best impression, but she is grateful that he accepted her absurd proposal. Hyun-do thinks to himself that the girl is quite pretty when she smiles. He smiles at the thought that Seo-young will soon find out about Yoo-min and shakes her hand. Tae-jaeon is in a cafe reviewing yesterday's messages with Jae-hee humming. He suggested they meet on Sunday and now fears he is acting childishly. Because Tae-joon wants to appeal to an older girl and must behave accordingly, Hyun-do enters the cafe and the friend, startled by his sudden appearance, hides his phone. According to Tae-joon, he came to work to clean up a bit before opening. Hyun-do suggests practicing the menu, since he is there. Suddenly, his friend asks him if he has a girlfriend. Hyun-do's behavior seems strange to Tae-joon, as he disappears often, and only answers the phone outside. Suddenly, the boy receives a notification that the chef is following him on social media. Tae-joon believes this also indicates that Hyun-do has a girlfriend, but he asks him to calm down and work. At night, the boy returns home, exhausted by his friend's incessant questions. However, he swore not to tell Tae-joon about his meeting with Yoo-min under any circumstances. Completely exhausted, Hyun-do collapses on the sofa. He turns on the television, where a melodrama with Seo-young is being broadcast. The boy receives a message from Yoo-min, who suddenly realizes that tomorrow is already Sunday. Hyun-do doesn't see a reason to delay and agrees to execute the plan. On TV, Seo-young asks the protagonist if he treats her this way because of his mixed feelings of love and hate. Yoo-min is also watching the movie, whose plot seems strange to her, although the acting is very good. A notification sounds, and the girl picks up her phone. Now they need to agree on the time and place of the meeting. The next day, Yoo-min waits at the agreed spot for Hyun-do, who is late for some reason. The girl decides to wait a little longer and text him later. Suddenly, Hyun-do calls her from the corner and startles her with his sudden appearance. Yoo-min suggests taking a walk before going to the restaurant. The girl indicates the direction they should follow. A crowd moves forward, their voices echoing throughout the street. That murmur turns into noise, and unpleasant memories of Seo-young yelling resurface in Hyun-do's head. He frowns and grips his head, trying to push that image away from himself. Noticing his state, Yoo-min assumes Hyun-do doesn't feel well. She decides to explain to the boy why they are walking precisely there. This street with cafes is the most popular among couples, and if Jae-seong also has a date, they might run into each other. However, Hyun-do suggests the girl go somewhere else today. Yoo-min is disheartened, although on the other hand, they will surely meet more often in these 2 months. The street is full of couples, and love floats in the air everywhere. Yoo-min feels uncomfortable, as she and Hyun-do walk in complete silence. When she was with Kim Jae-seong, everything felt different, cheerful, and fun. Suddenly, the heroine twists her ankle and loses her balance. Hyun-do reacts quickly, tries to catch her but grabs her face. How awkward. They stay still, and people murmur that she should have just fallen. At the cafe entrance, a smiling waitress greets the couple. Yoo-min, with Hyun-do's handprint on her face, says there are 2 of them, and the girl offers them a seat wherever they like. The heroine tells the boy to stop apologizing, that she's sitting down, and she'll go to the restroom to fix herself up. Hyun-do apologizes the whole way, but she doesn't make a big deal of it. He just wanted to help. The phone rings on the table, and looking at it, Kim Jae-seong sees it's his sister. He answers the call and tells the girl he is cleaning. His sister wants to know if he is coming home, but Lee-sun reminds her that his father forbade him from returning until he gets Yoo-min back. Since the way home is closed for him, the boy suggests to his sister meeting somewhere on the street. Looking at a photo on the shelf, Lee-sun asks Ha-jeong to bring her father with her someday. With his head down, Hyun-do is sitting in a cafe, waiting for Yu Min to come out of the restroom. Hearing the click of a camera at the next table, the boy flinches. He turns and, confirming that it's two friends taking photos, exhales in relief. Yu Min looks at the handprint from Hyun-do on her face. She knows he grabbed her not on purpose, but reflexively, and only then realized how he had done it. The girl blames herself even more for almost falling due to her silly thoughts. You can't blame someone who tried to help her and hold her. Suddenly, Yu Min is terrified, thinking that Kim and Sun might be in the crowd. It would be fatal. Upon returning, the protagonist sees Hyun-do, gloomier than a storm. For an instant, she feels like she is reliving the previous day. The girl notices, again, that the boy sat in the corner, with empty tables by the window. Sitting opposite him, Yu Min apologizes for making Hyun-do wait. The waitress approaches the table and takes the couple's order. Hyun-do asks worriedly if her face hurts and if the blow was too strong. But Yu Min reassures him and shows him that there is no trace left. Knowing that the boy created a social media account, the heroine takes out her phone to follow him. Yu Min is surprised that Hyun-do hasn't posted any photos, but he is confident that his ex will know it's his account. The protagonist offers to photograph the boy, but he refuses because he doesn't like it. Yu Min abandons the idea and apologizes to Hyun-do. When the waitress brings the order, she offers to take the photo as he wanted. She moves aside a bit to make it easier to photograph. Hyun-do shows Yu Min the photo, where the girl's hand is visible among the dishes. Everything looks like a real date, and the protagonist allows him to upload the photo to social media. Hyun-do and Yu Min start eating in complete silence. The boy eats looking to the side, thinking about his things. Yu Min asks him to look at her and say something, because they look like two people eating together. A happy girl in a new relationship shouldn't look like this at all. Yu Min begs Hyun-do to say something, and she will take care of the rest. Not understanding so much effort, the boy murmurs something about yesterday. She pretends to be super interested in the conversation, awaiting his next move. Hyun-do remembers when she said she wanted to look happy to spite her ex. The girl laughs, thinking she must have looked quite pathetic at that moment. Hyun-do asks if her goal is for Jaeseon to leave his new girlfriend and come back to her. Yu Min expects that, but if it doesn't happen, it's enough for her that he regrets it. He feels that she is honest with him, something he doesn't find in others. Although the answer is obvious, Yu Min asks if Hyun-do is seeking the same thing. But he ignores the question and snaps at her. What if in 2 months, Kim Jae-seon doesn't contact her? Hyun-do believes their efforts are useless, as the ex might never show up. After lunch, the couple thanks the cafe manager and heads to the exit. They go out to the street and say goodbye until next time. Hyun-do goes to the bus stop and, after waiting, gets on the vehicle. As he looks at Yu Min from the window, he thinks that she never revealed her true reaction at any moment. Hyun-do didn't provoke her to react to his words. He just got angry at some point. The girl, like him, clings to the slightest opportunity, and the feeling overwhelming the boy could be defined as aversion towards someone so similar to you. As he approaches home, Hyun-do hears the meowing of kittens and turns around. He sees a boy crouched down petting a kitten. He gets up and, after greeting Hyun-do, asks him if he lives on the 5th floor. Although the boy had never seen this man before, he answers his question affirmatively. It turns out he is Hyun-do's neighbor, the one who lives 1 floor below. He admits that he remembered the new tenant when he moved into the apartment last month. A month ago, Kim Jae-seon was in a hurry to get to a meeting, but Ha Jeong wouldn't let her brother leave calmly. 2 months later, she was still vainly trying to figure out why he and Yu Min had broken up. Learning that her brother was in a hurry to get to a meeting, she got indignant, assuming he had found someone else. And that's why he left the girl. However, Kim Jae-seon, taking a deep breath, explained that he was going to a meeting with friends, where there would only be boys. Ha Jeong was very frustrated for not having been able to find out the reason for their breakup. At that very moment, Kim Jae-seon saw Hyun-do, who was moving things into the new apartment. The boy expresses his regret that they haven't been able to meet until now. But today, a golden opportunity to meet arises, and they exchange compliments. The kittens run towards their mother, but she keeps them away from people. Waiting for the elevator, the neighbor tells Hyun-do that in this neighborhood they adore stray cats, which both of them love. Upon reaching the 4th floor, Kim Jae-seon says goodbye and exits the elevator. Hyun-do is happy with the move. Cats and good neighbors are a good haul for a quick move. Yu Min sees that the boy has uploaded a photo taken in the cafe to social media. She grumbles indignantly about all the nonsense Hyundo told her. He is fully focused on the page, which he didn't care about before, and tells her not to obsess. Hyundu believes that such things don't move anyone's heart, but Yumin already knows that. She knows better than anyone how difficult it is to change a decision. Although this plan is almost doomed, the girl must try and finish it since she started. Meanwhile, Taejun is on a park bench, checking his social media. Upon seeing Hyundu's photo, he gets angry at his friend for hiding his relationship with the girl. After asking him, it's the first proof that Hyundu has been on a date. And now, he will stalk him on social media. At that moment, Song Jae-hee approaches Taejun smiling and apologizes for making him wait. When she asks him what surprised him so much, he replies that he saw something unexpected on the internet. He is eager to tell everyone, but first Taejaeon wants to hear Hyundu's story. Yumin is in a business meeting, planning the spring campaign for new products. The girls agree to contact each other to define the schedule and say goodbye. Upon leaving the office, Yumin overhears some girls in the hallway enthusiastically discussing something. When asked what's happening, colleagues explain that there is a shoot nearby. At this instant, you can see Sun Chan and the famous actress Seo Young on the street. Yumin rushes downstairs to see the stars with her own eyes, already surrounded by a crowd. The girl stands on her tiptoes, trying to spot her favorite actress among a sea of backs. Finally, Yumin sees Seo Jong, who in person looks even more beautiful than on screen. The young woman watches the actress with admiration, happy to see her live, even from afar. Noticing Yumin in the crowd of fans, Ha Jeong, who is running by, stops. After making sure she's not mistaking the person, she runs to the girl to greet her. To Yumin's question about what she's doing there, Ha Jeong suggests accompanying her on an errand and telling her everything along the way. Taking Yumin by the hand, the girl confesses that she's very happy to see her, and she replies that she was going to call her. So Young watches Ha Jeong walk away with displeasure and asks where she went. The assistant replies that she sent the girl to pick something up from the car. So Young asks them to tell Ha Jeong to come back quickly, as she has questions. The young woman tells Yumin that she now works as the actress's stylist. She promises to get her an autograph from So Young for her friend when she gains more confidence. Yumin is surprised at how much she has grown, and she notices that she sounds like her brother. Ha Young still doesn't believe that she, Ig Seon, are no longer a couple, but apologizes for talking too much. Yumin reassures her, saying it's fine and that her brother must be proud. Remembering her task, Ha Jeong says goodbye quickly and promises to call later. After retrieving the necessary items from the car, the girl returns to the set, where everything is underway. She approaches So Young to find out why she was looking for her. According to the actress, she simply didn't see Ha Jeong nearby and got worried. She noticed the girl met a friend and now fears they will accuse her of getting distracted from work. Ha Jeong apologizes and explains that she was very happy about the chance encounter, but they greeted each other quickly and said goodbye right away. However, So Jong is not going to reprimand her. She just commented that she and her friend, apparently, are very close. Ha Jong says she has admired Yumin since childhood, but lately they have drifted apart a bit. And that's why she was so happy to see her. The manager calls the girl and she, apologizing to So Young, goes to work. The actress picks up the phone and enters Hyundu's page to see who he is following. In the subscriptions, So Young finds Yumin and examines the girl's page. She was intrigued to know why Hyundu had registered on social media. Now Seo Young understands that this is how he wanted to show that girl. Yumin is friends with Ha Kyung. The actress finds it hilarious. After a productive work session, Hyundu gets ready to go home. Tae-gun stops him, trying to find out if there is anything else he should know. At first Hyundu denies it, but then he remembers something, and the boy waits anxiously. But to his surprise, the friend praises him as a valuable employee. The opening was tough. Realizing that Hyundu hasn't answered, he demands that he stop beating around the bush. Tae-gun wants to know who the girl on his page is and if they are dating. Hyundu doesn't think it's something he necessarily needs to know. Tae-gun has known him for over 4 years and knows he hates talking about his life. Although the boy thinks this case is special, Hyundu replies that it's not necessary. Leaving his friend to close the cafe, he leaves through the door. Hyundu cannot confess to Tae-jeon that, in a fit of pique, he broke up with the celebrity he was dating for 6 years. And now he has started a fake relationship with a girl he barely knows. The boy barely survived today, and he still has a long way to go. When Hyundu gets into the car, Yoo-min calls him to ask if he's free the day after tomorrow night. She remembers he said that during the week, he is only free after work, so it's okay if they can't see each other. 2 days later, Hyung-do arrives at the pub where Yoo-min usually says her ex-boyfriend goes. The girl has already ordered drinks and waits for him smiling at the bar. Hyun-do is surprised at how unconcerned she seems upon greeting him. Yoo-min says that when she doesn't have overtime, she finishes earlier than him, which is why she arrived early today. The girl offers Hyun-do something to drink and to try some appetizers that, obviously, don't compare to his food. But they are quite good. Yoo-min asks Hyun-do to stop looking at her like a crazy person, because no guy looks at his girlfriend that way. Toasting with her, he asks if her boyfriend is nearby, since she's acting like that, even though the girl just wants to be alert. In that case, Hyun-do suggests they talk and laugh alone, like the other time, and that she shouldn't expect that from him. However, Yoo-min thinks it would be great to play the perfect couple together. This plan differs quite a bit from her initial proposal of simply spending time together. But this doesn't mean Hyun-do should act as if he has water in his mouth. He must think he is spending time with someone he knows, and then Yoo-min won't have to pretend to be happy. Like before, realizing that the girl has been pretending this whole time, he asks how she can do something like that without being an actress. Yoo-min saw no difficulty in demonstrating that with her body language. She, with a smile, offers to show him how to do it without having acting skills. The protagonist takes another sip, blaming herself for obviously being crazy for saying that. The girl needs to pull herself together and try to keep her mouth shut. She got carried away by his provocation, but it's done now, there's no turning back. Yumi has nothing to lose, so she decides to show Hyun-do real acting. No matter what he thinks, she will prove that she takes her plan seriously. Looking at him, the girl convinces herself that she now loves that man. Observing the people, Hyun-do realizes that lovers radiate happiness. He has never in his life heard that he gives the impression of being a happy person. From the beginning, the boy hid his relationship from everyone, except one person. Yoo-min is intrigued by what Hyun-do is thinking so deeply about. And when she asks him, he is startled. He says she doesn't need to pretend to be in love and happy, but she acts as if she doesn't understand. Laughing and saying that Hyun-do says weird things, Yoo-min touches his shoulder. The boy tenses up because she suddenly speaks to him so informally. When Hyun-do finally realizes that she has already started her game, Yoo-min turns towards the stage. The intermission is over, and the singer returns to the microphone to perform another song. Now Hyun-do understands the consequences of provocations, and Yoo-min's reaction seems natural to him. The boy takes a photo to upload it to a social network later. The main news of the day, published on the internet today, catches his attention. Sun Chan and Seo Young, the protagonists of the recent scandal, pose together with radiant smiles at the presentation of their new movie. Hyun-do doesn't doubt that she already knows about his new account, but due to her nature, she doesn't react instantly. Seeing that he is looking at news about his favorite actress, Yoo-min spies on his phone with fascination. She asks him if he likes Seo Young, and out of fright, the boy jumps in place. He starts vehemently shaking his head and tries to convince her that he doesn't like that actress at all. Without breaking character, she laughs and asks who is prettier or fits his taste better. Not getting an answer, Yoo-min touches Hyun-do's shoulder again, who stares at her silently. He notices how convincing her performance is in front of the audience, but asks her to stop there. He mispronounces her name again, and Yoo-min gets the impression that she understands why this happens. Hyun-do himself can only explain it as a simple inability to remember. However, she believes he is simply embarrassed to call her by her name. The boy is indignant at such an assumption, and when she asks him to repeat her name, he says it without hesitation. Hyun-do asks Yoo-min to stop behaving strangely. Now that he has verified how well she knows how to fake happiness, the protagonist asks him to cooperate with her from now on, since she is fulfilling the obligations of their agreement. Hyun-do did not expect such passion and determination from Yoo-min. Perhaps it was the feelings of discomfort from the similarity, along with slight curiosity, that touched his heart. Now he is ready for empty talk and predictable reactions, just as she said. Yoo-min has more than enough with that behavior on his part. However, according to her, if Hyun-do speaks mockingly again, she will not stand idly by. With a fearful look at the girl, the young man asks what she plans to do in that case. Approaching him, Yoo-min whispers that in that case, she will take care of all the flirting. She will call him at all hours and bombard him with messages, in addition to camping outside his cafe. To truly scare him, she plans to flirt nonstop with him, just as she has been doing lately. In short, she will annoy him even more than now, and he should be terrified of such threats. And if Hyundu doesn't believe it, he should try behaving as before, and he will see for himself. After hearing her threats, the boy laughs and promises to do his best to cooperate with her. They toast and drink, thus sealing their agreement. Ashamed that she couldn't meet Jae-san again today either, Yumin thanks Hyundu for staying with her until late. The boy calls a taxi for the girl. While he will walk home, as he lives nearby, waiting for the car, Yumin notices a mole on his earlobe and jokes that now she envies not only his mole on his eyebrow. The taxi arrives, and the protagonist says goodbye to Hyundu. Alone, the boy rubs his earlobe, which Yumin found charming. Upon getting up, Hyundu washes his face and looks at himself in the mirror. 4 years ago, So Young told him that his mole looked like a mark for a piercing. She thought an earring would suit him well and suggested piercing his ear. Then she suggested a piercing on his eyebrow, and Hyundu accepted anything she suggested. Noticing that his hair had grown a lot, Sojong told him he should cut it. But on second thought, she suggested that, on the contrary, he let it grow even longer. Hyundu's gaze seemed so stern to the girl that she decided to soften it. She didn't want people to be afraid of her boyfriend. That's why it seemed like a great idea to her. Yoo Min and Jae-hee take their friends to the cafe they were asked about so much. Tae-jun cheerfully greets the girls at the door. After exchanging pleasantries with Yoo Min, the boy calls Hyundu. She doesn't want to distract him from work and promises to greet him later. But Hyundu turns at his friend's call and nods upon seeing Yoo Min. Song-jae now realizes how close the cafe is to her office, and Tae-jun suggests they come for lunch more often. Reacting, he also invites the other girls, promising them a discount. When Tae-jun takes Song-jae's order, Yoo Min notices a special connection between them. For some reason, the girl is sure that these two are on the right track. The attention of the friends does not escape the boy's special treatment of his colleague. Jae-hee asks them to just eat in silence, since she has already satisfied her curiosity by agreeing to bring them here. But the girls don't give up, and now they want to know if the one cooking is Yoo Min's boyfriend. The protagonist blushes and begins to flatly deny any possibility that this is true. Although the girl insists that there is nothing between her and Hyundu, Song-jae noticed that they communicate. Yoo Min cannot say that she is going on fake dates with him and must therefore hide it as much as possible. She reassures herself that Hyundu is also not the type to gossip about this to everyone. However, to her surprise, her friend feels sorry hearing that, as she thought they made a good couple. Yumi doesn't think so, since Hyundu's appearance and character are far from her ideal type. Still, Jae-hee sees something in common between them, and besides, your partner doesn't have to be just your ideal guy. According to Yoo Min, they only resemble each other in the inability to forget their exes. And perhaps because of that, an outside observer sees something in common. The girl decides to play along with her friend a bit and to get her off her back. She promises to think about it if he makes the first move. The conversation is interrupted when Hyundu approaches the table, and upon not finding Tae-jun, he decides to serve the dish himself. Only when he places the dish on the table does Yoo Min realize that it is not a waiter standing next to her. The boy looks at her with his usual expressionless and stony face. Embarrassed, Yoo Min greets Hyundu and introduces him to her company employees. The girl is very embarrassed since he surely overheard her words. After greeting the guests, the chef prepares to return to the kitchen for the rest of the food. Yoo Min desperately tries to signal him with gestures that she wasn't serious. And although the boy notices it, he doesn't show it, smiles, and wishes everyone a good meal. He moves away from the table. Yoo Min is irritated by his hateful smile and the fact that he didn't react to her signals. The colleagues start arguing nonstop about Hyundu's handsomeness and his talent as a chef. The chef, unperturbed, returns to the kitchen to continue cooking. Seeing him, Yoo Min feels relieved. Hyundu doesn't seem offended. The girls have lunch chatting nonstop, and the protagonist picks up her phone. After serving the dishes, Hyundu cleans the kitchen surfaces. He knows that Yoo Min is boasting to her friends by saying she will think about it. Suddenly, he receives a message, and he glances fleetingly at the protagonist. Seeing the phone in the girl's hand, he assumes the message is from her. In reality, Hyundu sees no reason to justify himself. He knows she wasn't serious. But actually, So Young is texting him asking him to come. She fainted and is in the hospital. Tae-jun, without taking his eyes off Song Jae-hee, asks the girls to tell him if they need anything. Yoo-min receives a message from Ha-jeong, and her head floods with thoughts about what might have happened. She apologizes and tells her friends that she will start eating as soon as she replies to the message. Ha-young regrets that they couldn't talk longer that day and suggests inviting Yoo-min to celebrate her employment. The protagonist thinks it's a fantastic opportunity to find out how Jae Si-han is doing and tell Ha-young about her new relationship. At that moment, she hears a loud slam and flinches. Ha-yeon-do, in a hurry, asks Tae-jeon to close the cafe just for today. Without answering his friend's surprised questions, he entrusts him with taking care of the customers and disappears around the corner. The customers stare at him in amazement, not understanding why the chef suddenly abandoned the cafe. Tae-jun apologizes to everyone for the interruption and asks them to continue enjoying their meal. Yoo-min stands motionless, as this scene reminded her of her first encounter with Ha-yeon-do when he ran out of the bar. Kicking over a chair, the protagonist suspects the boy has fallen back into his ex's arms. Getting out of the taxi, Ha-yeon-do smooths his messy hair from running. He greets the manager, So-young, who came out to meet him at the entrance. Ha-yeon-do bombards him with questions about the girl's health and tries to find out why she fainted. The manager asks him not to worry and, although there are no reporters nearby, promises to tell him everything inside. Entering the building, the boy realizes how well guarded it is. According to the manager, So-young has taken on too much lately and accepted one project after another. As a result, the girl has exhausted herself, and today, in the middle of work, her legs gave out, and she couldn't get up by herself. Opening the apartment door, the manager assumes that So-young must be sleeping now. She has no injuries, but the doctors have recommended absolute rest for the actress for some time. Ha-yeon-do enters the room where the girl is sleeping. He sits down next to her on the bed and covers her up. She wakes up happy that he came so soon, right when she got sick. Seo-young is better and, rubbing her eyes, asks Ha-yeon-do if he missed her, since this is the first time they have seen each other since that fight. Without answering, the boy asks her a similar question, and she says she waited patiently, since she knew he would come back to her. Noticing her tiredness, Hyun-do suggests the girl sleep, but she asks him to stay and see the house, as it is the first time she is here. Promising to talk later, the boy advises Seo-young to go to sleep, and he leaves the room. He asks the manager to show him the kitchen to prepare food for the girl and her assistant, knowing that things will go badly if Seo-young doesn't find Ha-yeon-do by her side when she wakes up. The manager asks him to stay here until she wakes up. However, the boy sees no point in that, since they are over. The manager then doesn't understand why he ran here and is preparing food. Since all his actions speak for themselves, he doesn't know if Seo-young and Ha-yeon-do are similar because they dated for a long time, or if they dated for a long time because they are similar. However, the inconsistencies between what these two say and do are definitely the same. So Young wakes up and leaves the room looking for Ha-yeon-do, but the manager informs her that he already left, not without first preparing a lot of food for them. The girl regrets having trusted the manager, who simply let the boy go. Despite all the effort she put in, the assistant tells her what Ha-yeon-do replied to her suggestion to stay for dinner. According to the manager, the boy prepared the food out of compassion for his ex-lover, who cannot get over the breakup. In that case, Sojong is ready to declare a cold war on Ha-yeon-do. The manager knows the girl feels bad, but whether they get back together or not, she must finish her job properly. After thinking for a bit, Sojong asks him to take her to Ha-yeon-do's cafe right now, because when the boy is depressed, he sometimes stays there and gets drunk. And if her calculations are correct, today will be one of those days. Yoo-min says goodbye to her colleagues as her workday ends. She overhears the girls discussing what happened at the cafe today. The girl calls Ha-yeon-do, but he doesn't answer the phone. Maybe she is worrying in vain, like when she went with her ex, although Yoo-min intervened. The protagonist gets an idea that Ha-yeon-do might have returned to the cafe and decides to stop by. Upon arrival, the girl sees that the light is still on inside. It seems strange to her, since Tae-jeon said he would close the cafe once the customers left. Looking inside, Yoo-min finds Ha-yeon-do lying on the table and thinks he hit his head. She runs inside and shakes him by the shoulder to wake him up. Seeing that he is breathing and only sleeping, the girl feels great relief. There are 3 bottles of wine on the table, and it's clear the boy got drunk. From the shock, Yoo-min's legs give out. She sits on the floor and decides to call Tae-jun to take her friend home, since she cannot leave him in that state. At that moment, Hyun-do opens his eyes and silently looks at the girl sitting next to him. Yoo-min searches for Tae-jun's number on the phone, doubting if she even has it. Suddenly, Hyun-do grabs the visor of her cap and pulls it off her head. He throws it aside. With one hand, he covers her eyes, and with the other, he caresses Yoo-min's face. She, confused, asks what he is doing. But Hyun-do, without answering, asks her if her fever has passed. The protagonist moves away from the boy in fright, indignant that he didn't give her any sign that he had woken up. Hyun-do grabs the table to get up from the floor and scolds himself for coming here. Hyun-do places his hand over the girl's and squeezing it, confesses that he missed her. Yoo-min stands up indignantly, but upon understanding his words, she asks why he would suddenly miss her. With teary eyes, Hyun-do tells her that this is precisely why he didn't want to see her. The protagonist understands that, drunk, he obviously confused her with his ex-girlfriend. Yoo-min pulls up a chair to sit down, as it is evident that something serious happened to the boy. Now it's clear that Hyun-do was dumped, just like her, and everything he said in that alley was a lie. He wanted to hurt her with his words, just as Yoo-min wanted to hurt Kim Jae-seon. Apparently, that's why Hyun-do agreed to participate in her stupid plan. After thinking it over, Yoo-min asks him to stop if he wants to avoid future awkwardness. She confesses that she hates hearing nonsense from drunks, and then Hyun-do apologizes. Surprised by how obedient he is when drunk, Yoo-min asks him to let her go. She tries to explain to him, who is sitting opposite him, but Hyun-do becomes stubborn and won't let go. The heroine insists on explaining to him who she is holding and tells him her name. Upon hearing it, Hyun-do calls her eccentric, the one who threw a wallet at his head and was looking for fake dates. At first, Yoo-min is indignant, as she only proposed an agreement to him. But upon remembering the wallet, her face suddenly changes, and she apologizes. It was very rude of him. Suddenly, Hyun-do smiles and thanks Yoo-min for that throw. The heroine doesn't understand why he thanks her, since the situation was not pleasant at all. But some words are said with only one purpose. And in this case, Hyun-do wanted to hurt. He achieved his goal, but in the end, he suffered himself, because So-young's pain became his pain, and Yoo-min's sudden appearance that day cheered him up. But now Hyun-do cannot confess all that to the girl, and so he only praises her throw, stating that Yoo-min should have gone to baseball, where she would surely be a champion. He slumps over the table and falls asleep again. The girl looks at the sleeping Hyun-do, feeling joy for his gratitude, although in reality, it is she who should apologize to him for her behavior. Yoo-min tries again to free her hand and wake up Hyun-do, but he doesn't react. The girl calls Tae-jun, apologizes for the time, and asks him to come to the cafe to take her friend home. After agreeing with the boy, Yoo-min decides to stay there until he arrives, because a favor for a favor is repaid, and not long ago Hyun-do listened to her drunken ramblings. At that moment, Seo-young arrives at the cafe and observes what is happening inside. She sees that girl again there, and so she asks the manager to take her back. She turns the car around, lamenting not being able to quit that job at once. Upon waking up, Hyun-do realizes he slept at home, but doesn't understand how he got there. The boy clearly remembers drinking wine at the cafe, scolding himself for running again at So-young's call. However, Hyun-do remembers absolutely nothing of what happened next. He is worried if he closed the cafe or simply left, leaving everything a mess. Determined to check with the cameras, he picks up the phone and watches yesterday's recording. Hyun-do replays the recording from the moment he has memory gaps, and he sees Yoo-min running around the cafe. He is so surprised by what he sees next that he spills the water he was about to drink. Ha Kyung enters the cafe, where Yoo-min is already waiting for her. The girls are very happy to see each other. Although the meeting had to be at 10 in the morning, due to Ha Jeong's tight schedule, Yoo-min worries because her friend has lost weight, thinking she eats poorly due to work. But she, on the contrary, gained a couple of extra kilos from late-night binges. She asks Yoo-min about her life, but now even these simple questions are difficult for her. The protagonist starts telling her about selling her bags online, and suddenly the phone rings. Seeing that it is Hyun-do, Yoo-min hesitates to answer, but Ha Kyung encourages her while looking at the menu. The heroine gets an idea that if she answers now, she can mention her new relationships in passing. So, apologizing, the girl answers and asks him if he remembers yesterday's incident. Ha-young, hearing a male voice, realizes with sadness that Yoo-min must have a boyfriend. 8 years ago, she arrived breathless at the hospital, where her brother was waiting for her. 17-year-old Ha-young, with tears in her eyes, asked Kim Jae-seon how their dad was. The boy hugged his sister and asked her not to worry, as they found their father in time. And now he is being operated on. A little calmer, Ha-young noticed a girl standing behind Kim Jae-seon. There, the boy introduced his sister for the first time to Choi Yoo-min, a student of his father, with whom they were studying at the same university. The girl's eyes were red, and Hae-chung thought that, obviously, she had also been crying. Kim Jae-hung informed his sister that it was Yoo-min who saved his father's life today. Tae-hung cleans the tables, preparing the cafe for its opening. He tells Hyun-do, who arrived at work, about how he took him home yesterday. He won't stop praising himself, and although his friend is very grateful, he would be happier if he kept quiet for at least a minute. To Hyun-do's question about how he knew his condition, Tae-jun explains how Yoo-min called him. He is not surprised that the boy doesn't remember anything, because when he arrived, he was already asleep. So he let go of Yoo-min, grabbed his friend, and took him home. However, something seems a little strange to Tae-jun in this whole story. Yoo-min said she saw Hyun-do at the cafe on her way home from work, but he remembers that her house is in another direction. Although thinking he might be wrong, the boy sets about cleaning the next table. Hyun-do reflects on what Yoo-min's sudden visit might exactly be, if it's not just a coincidence. Upon going out, he calls the girl, and as soon as she answers, he apologizes for yesterday. He is very sorry if he offended her with something, as his behavior was completely involuntary. Yoo-min doesn't hold a grudge, since he was just drunk, and it has happened to her too. Hyun only doesn't understand one thing, because at the end of the conversation, she called herself an understanding stranger. The girl asks him to talk later, as it's not convenient for her to talk now. Hyun-do regrets not asking how Yoo-min got home yesterday, and thanking her for her help. Confessing that she overheard their conversation, Ha Kyung asks if Yoo-min drank yesterday. The protagonist wonders if she should unintentionally reveal Hyun-do's existence. She says an acquaintance got so drunk he fainted, and now he is calling to apologize. Ha Kyung asks if the man became very violent. Recalling what happened yesterday, Yoo-min replies that everything was decent. Ha Kyung suffers. She wanted to become family with her, but her brother ruined it. She wants to ask about Yoo-min's relationship with that man, but she doesn't dare. Yoo-min regrets it. She didn't think about Ha Kyung's feelings, who became depressed. Despite her situation with Jiseon, she invited her to lunch. How regrettable that Yoo-min behaved so brazenly towards Ha Jeong. The protagonist thanks the girl for the meal, and she promises to invite her more often. Yoo-min offers to give her a ride, but she has already arranged to wait here for her manager. Ha Jeong wants to introduce her friend to her boss. Connections are vital. Suddenly, the heroine apologizes for making her suffer because of her breakup with Kim Jiseon. It must be awkward for Ha-young to be between her and her brother, but she shouldn't feel that way. The young woman smiles and thanks her friend for those comforting words. Deep down, Ha-young longs for everything to be like before. At that very moment, a car stops in front of them, and the girl announces that it is her transport. After promising to introduce her to the manager later, Yoo-min tells her to hurry. They are waiting for her, but when the car door opens, the protagonist freezes upon seeing Seo-jun inside. The manager decided to pick up the actress first, which is why she is now smilingly telling the stylist to get in quickly. Seo-jun notices Yoo-min and asks Ha-kyung to introduce her to her friend. The actress gets out of the car to greet her with all due formalities. Yoo-min can't believe that the great Seo-jun is smiling in front of her. She confesses that she has seen all her movies and that she is a die-hard fan. Seo-jun feels very flattered. She didn't expect Yoo-min to be her fan. The girl even mentioned movies in which the actress had minor roles. According to her, Seo-jun overshadowed even the main actors with her performance. The actress finds Yoo-min's effusiveness very entertaining. It hurts her to say goodbye to the girl, so she asks where she is headed. Upon learning that the protagonist has to go to work, So Young offers to drive her if they are going the same way. Yoo-min accepts instantly, ignoring that Ha Jeong reminds her that she has her own car. She admits that it would be a great honor for her to take a ride with So Young. Despite Yoo-min's crazy look, Ha Jeong is happy that her friend is so happy. Days later, the protagonist is in the middle of a bookstore, where they agreed to meet Hyun-do. She has already learned to find him in crowded places, because you have to look for him in the most discreet corners. As expected, the boy arrived before her again, and is now among the furthest shelves. Flipping through a book, Yumin approaches Hyundo and asks how he got home that time. The boy thanks her for her help and asks that if he gets drunk again, she should slap him next time. The passersby, hearing the out-of-context phrase, turn in surprise towards the couple. Yumin doesn't understand such exaggeration, but for Hyundu, such behavior is unacceptable. He is even willing to take a blow to the back of the head, which is more effective than a slap. Yumin suggests Hyundu move away, as his words sound very strange. In a less crowded place, the girl assures him that she is calm, as she knows she was wrong that day. But Hyundu is adamant. He wants her to hit him regardless of whether she is wrong or not. Yumin is exasperated by his insistent call for self-violence. Seeing her bewildered face, he believes that confusing another girl with his ex shocked her. Although if the same thing happened to her, she would also be in shock. After a brief silence, she agrees and promises to hit him as hard as he wants. Exhausted after the talk, Yumin begs not to have to hit Hyundu. Walking back through the store, she notices how other customers avoid her gaze. Yumi doesn't understand why she always ends up in ridiculous situations near that boy. Flipping through random books, they uselessly search for the protagonist's ex-boyfriend in the store. Hyundo asks her to describe his appearance to know who they have to look for. According to her, he is handsome, intelligent, polite, attentive, and tall, so clothes suit him great. Hyundu doesn't understand how to find someone with that description and asks for more objective details. Yumin, realizing her foolishness, hides her face behind a book. The one they are looking for is almost Hyundu's height, with darker skin, an easy smile, and a casual look. The boy carefully observes the people, and suddenly his gaze stops on someone. Without lowering the book, Yumin asks if he sees anyone like the description. Hyundu moves the book away and asks her to look where he is looking. Among the shelves, indeed, there is a boy who looks very much like Kim Jae-seon. Yumin hopes it's not him, but on second thought, she doesn't understand why she thinks so, since she came for this. Suddenly, the boy turns and looks directly at the girl. Without taking her eyes off, the protagonist, from the surprise, drops the book. The stranger was finally waiting for his friend, whose delay made him have to pick up a book. Yumin tells Hyundu that from the back they looked alike, but in other ways they are different. The one they are looking for is not here, apparently, and so she suggests the boy leave. Hyundu sighs deeply, since they are not looking for a needle in a haystack, but someone close. The sun sets slowly, and the fake couple walks on their usual route. Tired of the long walk, Yumin decides to have dinner soon and go home. The girl is very hungry, but she waits to eat because Hyundu wants to ask her something. The boy is interested in knowing how Yumin got to his cafe that day, and if she was really on her way home. The protagonist confesses that she actually lives on the other side, but she was worried about his sudden departure from work midday. Hyundu doesn't understand her concern, since they are not even in a relationship. Yumin reminds him that the day they met, he ran out of a birthday party and had a fight with his ex-girlfriend. The protagonist thinks that Hyundu is not very different from herself. Therefore, she asks him not to misunderstand her, but she came to him like a kindred spirit in misfortune. Hyundu had noticed that before, but Yumin really seems like a curious person to him. Taking advantage of being called curious, she asks if they fought with the girl again that day. Actually, Hyundu thinks it would be better if they had really fought. He doesn't understand why she texts him about how she feels only to see him run to her again. It angers him that Soyoung can't concede once and simply admit that she missed him. Yumin didn't miss how Hyundu broke down after that meeting, like that piece of burnt meat, snatching away the burnt food. The boy doesn't understand why she asks that, since she knows it herself. Yumin demands that in the future, he not run to his ex at the first call, as he shouldn't show regret. Hyundu wonders if she herself would follow similar advice if he gave it to her, since so far she hasn't had the chance to show regret, only because her ex hasn't contacted her yet. Trying to remember when she said something like that, Yumin asks where Hyundu got that idea. But pay attention, he remembers perfectly when she mentioned it in her talk with Jae-hee. Our protagonist relives the moment her friend confessed to keeping in touch with some exes. Suddenly, Yumin admits that today, in the bookstore, she feared that guy was one of her former boyfriends. She feared that upon seeing her, he wouldn't feel an ounce of regret. He would only congratulate her on her new relationship. Now, Yumin feels like the silliest for having such thoughts. Come on, she's not at an age to be afraid and suffer over these things. That feeling that brought Yumin to the cafe, upon leaving work, Hyundu is now experiencing firsthand. He, as if he wants to turn around and simply ignore that person, but he is incapable of doing so without experiencing horrible discomfort. Hyundo observes her silently for a moment and then asks her who else knows about this. In reality, neither Yumin's family nor her friends know about this weakness of hers. The boy realizes that now he is the only one who knows, and she is the only one who knows his weakness. He suggests to Yumin not to overthink it, since both have already started this silly game. Because if they don't tell anyone the silly things they do, no one will find out about them. After talking with Hyun-do, the girl feels much better, and they have dinner in a relaxed atmosphere. On the street, through the crowd passing in front of the cafe where Yumin is, Kim Jae-seon walks. He sees the girl just as Hyun-do tries to convince her that he is not thinking about her weaknesses. Yumin laughs, because in reality only the two of them know how foolishly they are behaving. She suddenly remembers how not long ago Hyun-do told her they weren't close enough, and now he worries about her. But the boy replies that he still thinks the same thing, and he is very amused by how that angers Yumin, who swears that in that case she will stop worrying about him. Finishing dinner, the girl thinks about how difficult it is to get along with Hyun-do. She doesn't know how to connect with him, since a short while ago he was sad and now he comforts her. Suddenly, the protagonist is startled to see Kim Jae-seon among the passing crowd. The boy disappears from her sight, so Yumin gets up to see better, thinking she was mistaken again. With his head down, Kim Jae-seon walks home through the crowd of people rushing through the city. Ha Kyung is already waiting for her brother, who went out to buy dinner and was delayed for some reason. After setting the table, they eat in silence, and each thinks about their own affairs. Breaking the silence, Ha-kyung asks Jae-seon if he has a girl who is interested in him. According to her brother, there is such a girl, but they are not dating. Kim Jae-seon has no such desire, as he does not feel the need to be in a relationship. It seems to Ha-kyung that her brother hasn't forgotten Yumin and shares her suspicions that she has a boyfriend. Kim Jae-seon confirms his sister's suspicions and recounts how he saw them on the way home. In response to Ha Jae-young's surprised questions, he says he saw them fleetingly in a cafe. And he didn't even make out the boy's face. Yumin was with another man, so Jae-seon couldn't approach and greet her. Ha Jae-young does not share her brother's opinion and calls him an idiot. And although Kim Jae-seon thinks it's selfish on his part, he decides to try in some way. Because maybe she doesn't care at all, and he won't know for sure until he tries. Admitting this idea, Kim Jae-seon smiles, and they continue having dinner in silence with his sister. Seo-young is sitting among piles of boxes and examines the bags, which turned out to be much better than she thought. After turning one of them over and ensuring its excellent quality and interesting design, she suddenly pushes it aside. A few days ago, Yumin, after meeting her, gave her card to Seo-young. To the actress's question about where her showroom was, she replied that she sold everything online. Seo-young wanted to see the bags, so Yumin offered her her online store website. Ha-young, sitting in the back, happily watched as the famous actress took an interest in her friend. Suddenly, Seo-young asked not only for the web address, but also for her phone number. Yumin gave her number and, thanking everyone, said goodbye upon arriving at her workplace. To conclude, Seo-young asked her not to tell anyone about their meeting. According to her, there are people in this world who are jealous of things like that. Yumin, thinking the celebrity asked because she didn't want rumors, promised her, and said goodbye. All this now seems childish to Seo-young, but Hyun-do makes her nervous with his change in attitude. As compensation for what happened, Yumin posts a photo with a bag from her collection on social media. The next morning, Hyun-do goes for a run and meets his neighbor again, who is petting a kitten on his way to work. Kim Jae-seon hands him his card and asks him to contact him to cover all expenses. Running along the river, Hyun-do watches the sun behind the horizon and reflects on how quickly time passes. Upon returning home, he sees his neighbor in the garden, inexplicably crouching down. Thinking something has happened to him, Hyun-do approaches and discovers he is holding an injured kitten. He wants to take the animal to the clinic, but that means asking for a day off from work. Hyun-do offers to take the kitten to the vet, as he can afford to be late for work. The neighbor gives him his card, insisting that he contact him to reimburse all veterinary expenses. The boy promises to keep him informed, but refuses the money, helping out of his own will. And because expenses are not a problem for him, since Kim Ae-soon still doesn't know the boy's name, he introduces himself, asks her not to worry about anything, and to go to work. Realizing he is actually late, the boy thanks his new friend and asks him one more time to call him. With the kitten perched on his head, Hyun-do looks at him thoughtfully as he walks away. After Jong posted a photo with the Yumin brand bag, there has been constant commotion in her office. Literally, in a single day, all available stock in the online store completely sold out. Yumin can't believe what is happening. Their phones won't stop ringing with incoming calls. Many companies spend enormous amounts on advertising with celebrities, and now the girl sees with her own eyes the results this generates. Yumin doesn't understand why Young did that, since she didn't even pay her. The protagonist doesn't think the actress posted the photos for her, as they barely know each other. Maybe she really liked the bags. However, Yumin finds all this uncomfortable for some reason. At that very moment, the girl's phone rings, and upon answering, she hears Young's voice. The protagonist runs out of the office, explaining to her colleagues that she has to take a work call. Upon exiting, Yumin confesses that she is happy to hear from her, as she has a question for her. She wants to know why a celebrity of her caliber decided to post photos and tag her brand in them. According to Young, she loved the bag, and she often posts products bought with her own money, so Yumin shouldn't feel obligated. Relieved by what she hears, the protagonist thanks her, as it is the first time she has seen her warehouse empty. The actress says she simply couldn't resist taking the photo. The bag is gorgeous, and those words move Yumin. Jong suggests they have lunch together, sometime to get to know each other better, and she accepts, promising to treat her. After saying goodbye, the protagonist runs to call her mother to boast about her company's success. Hyun-do looks sadly at the little kit he left at the veterinary clinic in the morning. He decided to visit the rescued kitten after work, and just at that moment, Kim Is-young appears. Hyun-do tells the neighbor that the kitten is a little better, but the doctors prefer to observe him until tomorrow. Kim Is-young is sincerely happy that this little one is improving, but according to the boy, it's too early to rejoice, since kittens are very weak and the risk of sudden death is high. Leaving the veterinary clinic, Kim Is-young notices that Hyun-do loves cats. To come here after work, he doesn't feel aversion, but he doesn't love them that much either, although he feels responsible for those who need help. He believes his relationship is a bit different from Hyun-do's sincere concern, but the boy is sure that Is-young is willing to take responsibility, something that is not common in many people. The new acquaintance is pleased to hear that from such a kind person. Hyun-do's phone rings, and apologizing to Is-young, he steps aside to answer the call. Yumin asks to postpone their meeting today at the local bar, where they were going to look for her ex. Although Hyun-do doesn't care about the reason for the change of plans, the girl says she won the lottery. The boy, who happens to love such things, instantly wants to know all the details, but Yumin reminds him that a few minutes ago, he wasn't interested. And Hyun-do, angry, threatens to hang up. The girl explains that the lottery was a metaphor, and her company is suddenly flooded with bag orders. Hyun-do threatens to hang up again because of Yumin's bragging, but she suddenly says that Young promoted her brand on social media. The boy flinches and asks if it's the famous actress and if she met her in person. Yumin, who promised Young not to tell anyone about their meeting, replies no. This means that Young found Yumin's account, ordered a bag, and posted it on her page. Directing it to him, he considers it a warning or appeasement, or perhaps a mix of both. But out loud, Hyun-do only praises Yumin for her professional success. Kim Jae-seong was surprised to hear a familiar name, although it is very common. He suggests to Hyun-do that they go together by taxi if he is also going home. The boys go out to the street and discuss the fate of the kitten they rescued. Days later, Hyun-do receives a photo from his acquaintance, whose daughter is now inseparable from the kitten. The boy is happy, as they not only saved the animal but also made a little girl happy. He thanks his acquaintance for the help and asks her to take care of the kitten a little longer, until they find owners for it. Na-hyun asks him if he is okay, or if he is still sleeping poorly. He replies that everything is perfect and that he will write later. Suddenly, a girl stands up from her table and shouts to her companion that she is fed up, and that they must separate. The reason for her anger is the rice she always orders, and he eats it all. A girl accuses a boy of selfishness, and while arguing, they leave the cafe just as Yumin enters. They bump into each other at the door, and the protagonist, apologizing, lets the angry girl go first. The boy who runs after her also bumps into Yumin, tired after a hard day. The protagonist apologizes to Hyun-do for being late. Looking around, she is surprised why he sat at such a secluded table. Before ordering, Yoo-min suggests the boy change to another spot. They sit by the window, where it is raining, so that if her ex-boyfriend passes by, he can see her. Hyun-do tells the girl how that couple fought over fried rice. Yoo-min regrets not having arrived earlier to see that, but the boy didn't find his silly fight amusing. Knowing that Hyun-do had already seen something like that, the girl asks him to tell her about it. 3 months ago, the boy was reading the latest rumors about So-young and Sun-chan on the internet. The article told how, after a meeting with mutual friends, they went to a cafe together. Hyun-do found it strange that the cautious So-young would meet again with a man about whom there were already rumors. Suddenly, he hears a girl at the next table telling her boyfriend that she is fed up with him. At that exact moment, in the same cafe, Yoo-min was breaking up with Kim Jae-seon. It struck him how that girl could say something like that and smile at the same time. Yoo-min suggests to Hyun-do not to tell the story if he doesn't remember it, since she only asked out of curiosity. But suddenly, he remembered everything clearly, and now he asks her if she broke up with her boyfriend last Christmas Eve. To her surprise, he tells her that he was in the same cafe at the same time. Hyun-do remembers how Yoo-min, with a smile, told her boyfriend that she was tired of him. At that moment, he didn't understand how she could say that smilingly. But 3 months later, he did the same thing. Yoo-min knows it, as she witnessed that conversation, and the girl is embarrassed. Although Hyun-do's comparison was great, the boy is intrigued about the real reason for her decision to break up. Yoo-min didn't think he would ever ask, and now she doesn't want to tell him while sober. With a wave of her hand, she asks the waitress to bring her 3 bottles of soju immediately. With tears in her eyes, the protagonist recounts how she actually wanted to spend her whole life with her boyfriend. She wouldn't regret it so much if he had cheated on her or committed a crime. The girl is so upset that she doesn't notice how her hair is falling onto the plate. Hyun-do tells her, but the girl doesn't care about such a trivial thing right now. She wants him to listen to her. Yoo-min tells him that she dated the boy for 6 whole years, but she never really mattered to him. He loved her, although without any passion. Yoo-min cries. She doesn't understand how something like that is even possible. That kind of love, according to her, arises between relatives and friends. But between lovers, there must be other feelings. When Yoo-min was asked the reason for her breakup, she was even embarrassed to tell it. Taking some napkins, Hyun-do gets up from his seat and sits next to the crying girl. To his question about whether the boy told her directly, Yoo-min recounts how she accidentally overheard his phone conversation. Indignant at how that idiot could say something like that out loud, Hyun-do removes hairs from the girl's plate. He wipes it while Yoo-min sobs and asks him not to insult her ex-boyfriend, as she already does that herself. However, in Hyun-do's opinion, one can talk about such things even from the grave. After a life together, to the question of why he suddenly became so kind, the boy replies that anyone would do the same seeing her tears, and how she bathes her hair in the plate. Hyun-do promises not to tell anyone Yoo-min's secret, as it could hurt her pride. However, the girl cannot trust him just like that, and asks him to share his story with her. Grabbing Hyun-do by the sleeve, the protagonist begs him to tell her about his breakup. The boy already regrets asking her about it, and now he owes her the same. 6 years ago, when Hyun-do was 25, he was walking down the street calmly. Seo-young was in an alley, and upon seeing the boy, stopped him to ask for a lighter. Hyun-do looked at the girl, and without saying a word, turned around and walked in the opposite direction. He entered the next store, bought a lighter there, and brought it to the girl. However, instead of taking it, Seo-young handed him a cigarette and asked him to teach her how to smoke. The girl had an audition, but she couldn't play a heavy smoker without having touched a cigarette. Hyun-do lit a cigarette, exhaled the smoke, and saying it was enough, put it out against the wall. However, So-young stopped him, as she couldn't understand how to smoke with just one time. By that time, Hyun-do had just managed to quit smoking with difficulty. Although, seeing the girl smile, he decided that in this case nothing would happen if his efforts went to waste. Hyun-do asked permission to leave work early, promising to make up for everything later. The boss was angry with him for how the boy lost his mind over a girl he had only known for a couple of weeks. Although the man himself was also in a romantic relationship at that time, that didn't interfere with his work. Hyun-do and So-young went to see an apartment for the girl, and the real estate agent thought she was sick for not taking off her mask. Upon going out to the terrace, So-young was delighted with the view, and that's why they decided to rent that apartment. The girl was worried about the high price, but Hyun-do promised to pay for everything. He wanted her to live there and go to auditions with peace of mind. So Young suggested they live together, feeling bad to see him bearing everything. But since she was an actress, Hyun-do thought it was better not to live together, just in case. And he promised to visit her often. The boy had been happy for a whole year since they started dating, and for the first time felt joy in daily life with his beloved. It was the willingness to give something up that made their relationship special. That's why he believed that even after Sojong's debut, their relationship would remain strong. They had been in a relationship for 2 years, and now the girl only went out covering her face well. She chose the most secluded tables in cafes, and it seemed to her that when they were together, they attracted even more attention due to their height and fierce appearance. One day, upon entering a bookstore, So Young, again hiding her face with a cap visor, heard the sound of a camera. She flinched, fearing she had been photographed, but Hyun-do was trying to convince her that it wasn't the case. Even seeing that a boy was only photographing his girlfriend, she felt they were being secretly recorded. At Hyun-do's suggestion to check if it concerned her so much, Seo Young turned around and went home. Again, they were together in an alley, and Hyun-do was opening a bottle of water for her. Worriedly, Seo Young insisted that she didn't need to go to the hospital, that she was just exhausted. The girl was pale and constantly felt that hundreds of eyes were watching her from around the corner. Snatching the bottle from Hyun-do, she threw it on the ground and screamed at him to stop talking about doctors and to leave. Putting her mask back on, the girl forbade her boyfriend from touching her on the street. As a newcomer to the entertainment world, she didn't want to be caught in a relationship. Hyun-do apologized for his recklessness, but Seo Young wanted him to be angry with her, fearing that if he indulged her, everything would get worse. And things got worse, because the actress suggested to her boyfriend that they stop having dates on the street. It was getting harder for Hyun-do to understand Seo Chong, and their meetings became sporadic. They were in the 3rd year of their relationship when the boy went to see a location for a cafe, whose previous owner was moving out. While Hyun-do was talking to the real estate agent, his phone started ringing in his hand. So Chung informed him that she was looking at a house to move into, as she needed better security. The girl wanted him to move into a neighboring house that her agent had found for him too. Although Hyun-do liked his home, Sa-chung insisted that the new place was ideal for their dates, and there they wouldn't attract attention. In the 4th year of their relationship, rumors began circulating that the actress was dating the actor Sun Chan. The girl claimed that the day the compromising photo was taken, it was the first time they had met. According to her, there was a misunderstanding because the reporter presented everything in a false light. Hyun-do didn't doubt her words, but an inexplicable restlessness kept the boy awake at night. After that scandal, So Young became busy with work, and he saw her in photos more often. That same winter, there was another wave of rumors, and Hyun-do became even more worried. He asked her if she was thinking of telling him something about those circulating rumors. So Young claimed she was just hanging out with friends and that they were photographed by chance. But Hyun-do knew that she would never do anything to harm her career. Sejong must have known that the articles would resurface if she and Sung Chan continued to see each other. The actress said she didn't cause the rumors on purpose. That gossip harmed her. Hyun-do didn't see her as that affected, and so he moved the girl's hand away from his face. After the scandal, Sejong became an ambassador for a luxury brand and became even more successful. Hugging Hyun-do, she insisted it was just business, that everyone uses everyone in the industry. She noticed his amazement and disgust, but trusted his understanding, sure that he loved her. But Hyun-do needed to hear a confession of love and a few simple words of regret. He didn't even think that So-young would ignore that simple gesture or wouldn't bother to calm him down. It's strange, but someone can be unbearable even if you love them. That's why Hyun-do suggested breaking up. After saying goodbye to So-young like that, he never returned to the house she had found for him. Hyun-do doesn't know how to tell all this to Yumin without mentioning his ex's name. So he says he can't give details, but their relationship was very agonizing and couldn't go on. She perceives from his tone how difficult those relationships were for Hyun-do. Yumin gets angry with herself for not having told him everything with the same calmness, and for crying like a child. Still, Hyun-do, although very summarized, told her she didn't expect to know absolutely anything. Walking home in the rain with him, she thinks that everyone has their own problems. Yoo-min asks how the boy plans to get home. Due to the torrential rain, they couldn't catch a taxi. Buses no longer run, and it's too cold to walk. Hyun-do doesn't get to reply that he will walk anyway. When a car soaks him from head to toe, Yoo-min scolds the driver and worries about how wet the boy is. After making sure she didn't get wet, Hyun-do suggests they simply keep walking. Yoo-min offers for him to stop by her place for a moment to dry his clothes, and he accepts. Upon entering, the girl apologizes for the mess and gives Hyun-do a dry towel. She brings him a hot tea to warm up before leaving. Drinking the tea, Hyun-do thinks he is crazy and shouldn't have entered her house. Suddenly, the girl offers for him to take off his clothes. The boy, astonished, almost chokes on his tea. Yoo-min smiles innocently, realizing her mistake, and explains that it would take too long to dry that way. She runs out to bring Hyun-do the men's clothes she had left over. Astonished where the girl got common sense, the boy begins to examine her apartment with curiosity. In the fridge, there is a photo of Yoo-min and her friend Jae-hee at school, and also pictures of cats. Hyun-do looks at the girl's childhood photos with very strange hairstyles, and she seems like a little devil to him. Yoo-min approaches him from behind so suddenly that the boy jumps in fright. While handing him the dry clothes, the girl tells him about her hairdresser mother, who has a salon nearby. Yoo-min accompanies Hyun-do to the bathroom and asks him to tell her if the size doesn't fit well. Upon entering to change, the boy tries to remember why he decided to let his hair grow. Yoo-min tells Hyun-do to keep the clothes, or she will have to throw them away. He understands that she bought those clothes as a gift for her ex and accepts. Yoo-min even offers him a jacket, but it is hers and he will have to return it. She worries that he might be cold, and that's why she insists that he wear it. Well bundled up and with the wet clothes in a bag, Hyun-do leaves Yoo-min's house. He realizes that he likes how the girl's jacket smells and looks towards her windows. Although Hyun-do was hot in those clothes, he didn't take off the jacket until he got home. Today, although briefly, he finally told someone about his relationship with So-young. Perhaps because of that, or because of the long walk. But today, for the first time since the breakup, he slept well and soundly. Hyun-do and Taejun work nonstop. Customers haven't stopped coming since the morning. A colleague notices changes in the boss's face. He seems brighter and without dark circles. Hyun-do no longer looks as exhausted as usual. After delivering all the orders, the boy checks if Yoo-min has texted him, as she hasn't contacted him for days. It occurs to Hyun-do that she gave up, since they still haven't managed to run into her ex-boyfriend. But even if that's the case, they made a deal, and if Yoo-min gives up, he still doesn't plan to. At that moment, he receives a message from Kim Jae-seon, suggesting they meet tonight to thank him for rescuing the kitten. That same night, Hyun-do arrives at the agreed location. Looking around, the boy remembers being there with Yoo-min. That's why the way seemed familiar to him. Hyun-do thinks that maybe even her ex-boyfriend might come today. He tries to remember how Yoo-min described him that day. Next time he will ask Yoo-min to show him his photo, to know once and for all what he looks like. Suddenly, Hyun-do wonders, why does her business matter to him if she is not even here? Kim Jae-seon enters the bar, and when asked if he had trouble finding the place, the boy replies that he had been there before. While drinking beer, the boys discuss the kitten's future, since Hyun-do will not be able to convince his friend to keep it. According to Jae-seon, he already posted an ad, but there aren't many interested in adopting the pet. Hyun-do, remembering the cat photos on Yoo-min's refrigerator, decides to suggest she keep the animal. The boy picks up his phone, and at that moment, two girls approach their table, laughing under their breath. They suggest the boys drink together, as they also came as a couple. After listening to them, Hyun-do responds with a flat refusal, explaining that they came to discuss something. Only when the girls left does the boy realize he only thought of himself. And Kim Jae-seon might think differently, but he himself was going to reject them, because even though their relationship ended a long time ago, he is not used to these things. To Kim Jae-seon's question about whether Hyun-do is dating someone, he replies no. Thinking for a moment, he tells him that he also broke up with his girlfriend. Sometimes it's easier to vent to a stranger. The experience of a breakup brought them together, and the more they talked, the more connected they felt. It's hard to find people like that nowadays, so it's not strange that they became friends by the end of the night. According to Kim Jae-seon, his ex-girlfriend showed him this cafe. That's why he comes often. When Hyun-do asks him if he comes less often to avoid running into her, he replies that he would love to see her. The boy asks if Jae-seon would be happy if he saw his ex-girlfriend with someone else. Contrary to what Hyun-do expected, the boy would be very happy. But he would be even happier to see her face again after so long. Apart from the beginning, Sojong Hyun-do always had to hide her existence in the relationship. Seeing her in photos with another depressed him. If he saw her now, he would feel exactly the same. Lee Sun wouldn't mind resuming the relationship if his ex wanted to, and if not, letting it go. Hyun-do doubts if he could leave the decision to his ex and simply obey her wish. He is intrigued why Lee Sun's opinion on the matter is relegated to the background. According to the boy, she broke up with him, tired after 6 years, and he wonders if she will want to come back. Hyun-do advises him to text her to clarify everything. If he had had such a long relationship, it would not be easy to give up his feelings. In reality, the boy feels he has absolutely no right to give advice to anyone. Hyun-do turns and looks at the empty seats at the bar, where he was sitting with Yoo-min. Not understanding why she hasn't answered him yet, he murmurs that she probably got held up at work. To Kim Jae-si-han's question about who it was, Hyun-do replies that he is talking about the person to whom he offered the kit. From his worried face, his friend immediately understood that it was a girl. Realizing his concern was obvious, Hyun-do starts to get even more nervous. Trying to calm the trembling in his legs, he explains to Jae-si-han that he misunderstood him. According to Hyun-do, he is simply collaborating with this girl on a short-term project. They don't see each other as potential partners, and each thinks of someone else. Hyun-do is sure they can only be friends, as the girl gave him a terrible first impression. Drinking alcohol is fine, but being noisy, crying, and bothering others is unnecessary. Although, according to Hyun-do, she has a beautiful smile and a sweet nature, since she doesn't shout when she could get angry. The boy does not rule out that she is a much more pleasant person than she appears at first glance. Noticing Lee Seon's strange look at him, Hyun-do understands that he said something odd, and he adds that being friends with that girl is great. The boy seems amusing to Kim Seon, as he doesn't realize his feelings at all. He finds it interesting to observe other people's love stories. At that moment, Hyun-do receives a message and instantly picks up the phone. But it's not Yoo-min, but Seo-jong who texts him. The girl is meeting with a friend in a cozy place, which she would like to return to. But with him, putting down the phone, the actress suggests introducing Yoo-min to someone, because she hasn't dated anyone since the breakup. The protagonist left work early today to take care of everything, and allowed her colleagues not to stay late either. After business negotiations, she headed to the factory to check the bag manufacturing process. After the factory, Yoo-min went to the market, from where she dragged heavy bags alone to the car. Getting into the car, the girl felt how tired she was after this day, and so she decided to rest and go home. Suddenly, she had the idea to launch a clothing and footwear line, and if everything went well, she would hire more people and expand production. Yoo-min remembered their fake dates and wondered if she really needed them. Several weeks had passed, and she hadn't even seen the shadow of Kim Jae-seon. She decided to talk about this with Hyun-do later, and just as she was about to go home, she received a call from Seo-young. The actress suggested meeting, and Yoo-min decided not to refuse her despite the fatigue. Upon arriving at the agreed location, she discovered that Seo-young was already waiting for her. The protagonist was surprised that the girl invited her to drink together, but according to the actress, alcohol was the best way to make friends. She admitted that she had arranged the meeting without thinking that it was Friday, and that Yoo-min might have a date. The girl laughed to Seo-young that she didn't have a boyfriend, and that even if she did, she would prefer to meet with her. While listening to Yoo-min recount her breakup with her boyfriend last year, Seo-young texted Hyun-do that message. The girl attached a photo to the message where Yoo-min's phone was visible. And now, smiling, she asks her new acquaintance if she wants to meet someone. Yoo-min thanks her for her concern, but refuses the offer, as she wants to focus on work. So-young looks strangely discouraged after her words, and the heroine thinks she hurt the actress's pride with her refusal. Not to upset the girl, she tells her that she hasn't forgotten her ex-boyfriend yet. So-young apologizes, as she had no idea about that. According to her, she is also in the same situation, so she perfectly understands Yoo-min's feelings. Assuming the actress is talking about her relationship with Sun Chan, the heroine asks if she also can't forget her ex. As if reading her thoughts, So-young recounts that she was dating a normal guy. Not that actor. Yoo-min is surprised by the frankness with which the girl opens up to her. If they have only met a couple of times. So-young, smiling, asks her to keep it a secret because she trusts the girl. Before her acting debut, she dated a guy who encouraged her and went out of his way to get her into it. He always trusted her. When, due to work, So-young didn't communicate for hours or days. He always understood her. Recalling it, the girl thinks about how he expressed his love with devotion and submission. Yoo-min comments that this story makes it clear how much they loved each other. At that moment, Hyun-do calls the protagonist, and she, apologizing, steps away to answer. But So-jong insists that Yoo-min stay at the table and listen to her conversation with her ex. When Hyun-do asks her what she is doing, Yoo-min does not say she is with So-jong. She only calls her a friend. To his question about whether anything special has happened to her, the girl replies negatively. Hyun-do admits he was worried about her long silence. He advises her not to stay out late and to be careful on her way home. After ending the call, Yoo-min finds it strange. Hyun-do doesn't call over such trifles. Apologizing, the girl asks Seo-young what they had agreed on. Suddenly, the actress, covering her face, says that her ex seems to be dating someone else. She asks Yoo-min what she should do now, and she freezes upon seeing her cry. But pulling herself together, she tells her to look for a way to see him again. It is better to regret doing it than not to. The girl smiles and promises that she will follow her advice without hesitation. Upon returning home at night, Seo-young sees a pair of men's shoes in the hallway. Entering the living room, she discovers Hyun-do sitting on the sofa. Without even greeting her, he asks about her suspicions, if she and Yoo-min have met before. Seo-young notices the girl's incredible ability to keep secrets, as she promised not to tell anyone. Hyun-do approaches her, demanding that she not involve anyone else in their relationship, since it is a matter between the two of them. But So-young is sure that he created the account precisely for that, and doesn't understand what reaction he expected. The girl asks him if he wanted her to beg him to come back. So-young takes Hyun-do's hand and places her palm on his cheek. She confesses her love and begs him to come back to her, promising to do whatever he wants, since she made a mistake. If Hyun-do's love was based on loyalty, for So-young love meant possession and control. Sensing his anxiety for years, she became even more convinced that it was love, and their breakup stunned her. Hyun-do remains silent in response, and only gently caresses her face with both hands. He seems to be trying his best to find in her that which he liked. So-young looks at the boy in surprise, trying to decipher his intentions. Hyun-do turns around and walks toward the exit, telling her not to mess with Yoo-min. The boy leaves, slamming the door, and So-young remains there, clenching her fists in anger. Yoo-min regrets that her meeting with So-young was shorter than expected, and hopes to see her again. After their conversation, the actress abruptly got up, complaining of feeling unwell. Yoo-min regrets not having taken a photo with the girl as a reminder. Remembering that she still hasn't replied to Hyun-do's message, the protagonist decides to call him. When he answers, she explains that she cannot adopt the kitten as she lives alone, and she doesn't want to leave him unattended when she goes to work. Hyun-do recounts how he and his neighbor rescued the kitten, finding it on the street in very bad condition. To Yoo-min's question about what he is doing, the boy tells her he is walking in the park because he can't sleep. The girl worries. Has something happened to him? Besides, he called her suddenly today. Cutting off abruptly and saying that everything is fine, Hyun-do is about to hang up. But Yoo-min asks him to say which park he is in. In a few minutes, the protagonist is walking in the park, where they used to stroll with Jae-seon. Upon seeing the girl, who even brought hot tea, Hyun-do is surprised at how quickly she arrived. He doesn't understand why she came, but Yoo-min asks him to sit down first. When Hyun-do sits down, the girl confesses that she couldn't stand aside if her friend is not well. If they get to know each other better, they can be friends, and the boy has nothing to object to. Yoo-min notices his confusion and assumes something bad happened, since he couldn't sleep and went out wandering. She asks him if Hyun-do saw his ex-girlfriend again, and he almost chokes in surprise. Looking at him, Yoo-min immediately understands that yes, because it's written all over his face. To her question about whether he wanted to cut his hair, Hyun-do replies no, because he doesn't want to scare people with his stern appearance. However, according to Yoo-min, he has expressive facial features that would hardly scare anyone, and it's worth discovering them. After all, Hyun-do ties up his hair at work, revealing his forehead. The girl has seen reviews on her cafe's page, where everyone mentions how handsome the owner of the place is. Hyun-do scolds her for being naive and for taking everything literally. Yoo-min advises the boy to learn to accept compliments, since excessive modesty doesn't attract people. Keeping quiet, the girl wonders if she is pushing him too hard. Hyun-do gets up and takes Yumin's glass to throw it away. Looking at the girl, he admits that thanks to her he feels much better. Looking at Hyun-do, Yumin wonders why he is so subjective about her appearance. Perhaps because of her past toxic relationships, the girl decides not to jump to conclusions. After the walk, they go to the bus stop. Impossible to catch a taxi on a Friday night. Yumi hasn't been here in a long time, but Jae-seon's house is on that street. She used to come often. The girl asks Hyun-do if he lives nearby, casually. She freezes upon discovering that the boy lives on the same street as Kim Jae-seon. What a coincidence. Suddenly, she asks Hyun-do to show her his house and deliberately lets the bus pass. To justify herself, Yumin says the first thing that comes to mind, that she wants to see how many stray cats there are. Walking down the familiar street, the protagonist finds herself in front of a house she knows very well. Hyun-do is chopping vegetables at work and can't stop thinking about yesterday. As soon as they got to her house, Yumin suddenly became very nervous and wanted to leave. She rejected his offer to accompany her and left, telling Hyun-do to go rest. The boy doesn't understand if she really wanted to know where he lives out of simple curiosity. Maybe she just wanted to accompany him because that totally fits Yumin. She showed up at his house in the middle of the night because she felt sad and lied to accompany him home. Thinking about it, Hyun-do smiles at this display of unnecessary concern on her part. Since the cafe is closed on Sundays, Tae-jeon asks his friend if he is free tomorrow. And although Yumin could text him, the boy still has no plans. Tae-jeon asks Hyun-do to go to the countryside together in his car. He has already arranged to go with Jae-hee and Yumin for the trip. And as soon as the boy hears that name, he immediately agrees. The weather was great on Sunday, and the whole group is already getting out of the car to take out the things. And take a look. Approaching the trunk, Hyun-do sees Yumin trying to take out a large box. He, silently, takes the box, preventing the girl from lifting something so heavy. Yumin suggests that he at least let her help organize things. Sitting next to him, she asks him quietly how long it's been since he slept well. After all, because of her, Hyun-do is always busy, and instead of seeing her, he could go out with someone else. Or rest alone. The girl apologizes to him, and he looks at her reproachfully. According to Hyun-do, she doesn't have to apologize as he had fun with her. And Yumin is glad to hear it. Suddenly, the girl murmurs that now they won't have to see each other so often. The boy didn't quite understand what she said and asks her to repeat it. But Jae-hee and Tae-jeon interrupt them, calling them to come out. Without finishing speaking, Yumin and Hyun-do leave the store. And although she must tell him everything, the words don't flow. The four of them go for a walk to the stream, commenting on how nice it will be here in the summer. Tae-jeon suggests taking a photo of everyone together, but Hyun-do turns away. Yumin approaches the boy and begs him to take just one photo. Hyun-do agrees. In the photo, he appears alone, serious, looking at the girl as if thinking about something. Tae-joon advises the girls to stay at the campsite while they prepare dinner. Relaxed on the bed, Jae-hee tells her friend how her relationship with the boy is going. She considers him very good and sees no problem with the age difference if they are only dating. After all, Tae-joon is only 24, and it's too early to get married. Yumin asks her not to hurt him, but she insists that she is giving her all in that relationship. Everyone sits at the table, and the protagonist calls Hyun-do, who is still by the fire. To join them, there is already enough food. The water for the ramen is boiling, and Yumin jumps up to prepare it, but the boy refuses help. Tae-joon asks the girl not to worry, since it is more comfortable for Hyun-do to do everything alone. They are discussing the possibility of all going together to see the cherry blossoms. According to Tae-joon, Hyun-do probably hasn't been to see the bloom in a long time, and at least that way, some romance could be added to his life. According to Yumin, the boy surely went with his girlfriend. However, Tae-joon has never heard that this iceberg has dated anyone. Just when Yumin is about to argue about it, Hyun-do brings the ramen to the table and interrupts the girl. After dinner, everyone gathers at the campsite to drink, but Hyun-do refuses, as he is the one driving. Pretending to be drunk, Jae-hee asks Tae-joon to take her out for fresh air. Alone, Yumin asks Hyun-do what the heck just happened. She doesn't understand how he could hide a 4-year relationship from her. Hyun-do reminds her that no one knew, except one person, and he had his reasons. He remembers how So-jong, and he always looked for a corner to hide and avoid attracting attention. Yumin suspects that those 4 years of relationship slowly ate away at Hyundo inside. If she's right, it's better that she doesn't see his ex. But if he admits it, she will also abort her plan. Knowing that they live in the same house, Yumin was going to ask him for help. But now, she doesn't want to bother him anymore. Noticing her confusion, he gets up from the floor. He sits next to her and asks if she is okay. Yumin complains of a strange feeling in her stomach, and Hyun-do offers to massage her back. Looking at him, she decides to change her plan, sure of his understanding, because after all, they use each other. Yumin started scheduling dates near where the boy lived. They went to cafes and walked the streets, taking photos nonstop. Hyun-do found it strange that she insisted on accompanying him home every time, refusing to let him accompany her. After another fake date, the boy showers and sits on the sofa. He picks up his phone and starts looking at Yumin's photos. Hyun-do doesn't understand why she keeps taking photos if she no longer posts them on social media. He finds a photo where Yumin is stained with cream amusing. He decides to send it to her because he is sure she will love it. Just then Yumin calls him and Hyun-do gets worried. What could have happened at this hour? A minute later, the boy meets a smiling girl downstairs who hands him a package. Drunk, Yumin arrived by taxi to give Hyun-do a dessert from her favorite cafe. She wanted to apologize and thank him, and that way he would sleep happily after dessert, without night walks. Suddenly, Yumin advises Hyun-do to eat only one piece. It's too late. After hearing the boy's thanks, who is very surprised, the girl leaves. But he stops her and tells her to go to his cafe. He will prepare whatever she wants. After saying goodbye, the girl takes a taxi and leaves, leaving the boy with the bag in the middle of the street. Perplexed, at that moment, Lee Seon arrives, dragging a friend who is quite drunk. The boy returned to Korea after a long time. He got too emotional and drank a little too much. Hyun-do offers to help Lee Seon, while the drunk man tries to reach the bag of sweets. Kim Lee Seon apologizes for his friend and suddenly sees the bag of Yumin's favorite cafe in his hand. He says goodbye to Hyun-do to send his drunk friend to bed as soon as possible. Days later at work, Hyun-do turns around every time he hears a door open. He waits all afternoon for Yumin to come to the cafe, but she doesn't show up until closing time. Hyun-do still trusts that she is busy and will come later, as she hasn't called or texted him in a long time. He decides to close the cafe alone. He sends Tigui home and looks at a package that has been on his desk for a long time. Yumin, despite how late it is still working. Her mother calls her and scolds her for how little she visits lately. The woman doesn't want to hear excuses about how much she works, as she has seen her go out with friends. The woman advises her at least to find a boyfriend, but not like Jae Seon. Yumin is indignant about that opinion, because even though they broke up, Jae Seon doesn't deserve that assessment. Her mother says that the girl treated her family as if it were her own, but in the end they broke up, and she doesn't like that. Yumin is fed up with these conversations, so she asks her mother to stop now. After hanging up, the girl lies down on the table. Stress is killing her, and right now she needs something sweet. Suddenly, Hyun-do calls her, and the protagonist answers worriedly to know why he is calling at this hour. The boy reminds her that she promised to go to his cafe, and Yumin admits that yes, she planned to go today. But due to work, she hasn't been able to find time and is still at the office. Hyun-do, given this situation, suggests bringing her dinner directly to work. Very little time passes, and someone knocking on the office door is heard. Upon opening, Yumin realizes what an important person has come to her humble abode. Smiling, Hyun-do hands her a box with some quickly prepared sandwiches. Yumin devours the food with such appetite that he regrets not bringing more. Actually, he was waiting for her at the cafe, and that's why he prepared something special for her. That said, he hands Yumin a bag with desserts that he prepared himself. The protagonist is surprised that he knows how to cook. And sweets too. According to Hyun-do, he started learning a few days ago upon learning about Yumin's love for desserts. She can't believe he decided to learn just to prepare this for her. Yumin thinks that if someone else did this, she would misunderstand it. But Hyun-do is a chef, and treating people is normal for him. Out loud, the protagonist asks how much he must have spoiled his girlfriend if he cooks like this for his friends. Leaning back in his chair, Hyun-do murmurs that he doesn't know. Maybe he spoiled her, maybe not. Yumin says that if she were his girlfriend, she would beg for food every day. But according to Hyun-do, you shouldn't beg for that. Because when you love someone, you want to take care of them, clean for them, and cook. He would take away all the daily worries from his girl, so that her love and time would belong entirely to him. Looking up at Yumin, he asks if that is strange. When Hyun-do was 16, his father told him that he would love him even if he and his mother divorced. Since his son entered high school, his father suggested he live alone, promising to send him money for all his needs. He left, leaving the boy standing in the middle of the room in complete solitude, convinced that a person who loves should not abandon another. When asking the girl if that was strange, that exact memory came to Hyun-do's mind. According to Yumin, the boy reasons like a dedicated house husband to his family and children. According to her, everyone loves differently. This is his way of showing love, and there is nothing strange about it. However, Yumin is concerned that his beloved, accustomed to so much kindness, might start taking it for granted, and he might get tired of that treatment. Hyun-do thinks she is very perceptive, but she asks him not to give it importance. It's just her opinion. According to him, lately he has also been thinking a lot about that. What happened in his relationship might have been his fault, and everything would be different if he had loved differently. When they met, So-young was not like she is now. She has changed a lot in these years together. Suddenly, Yumin stands up and grabbing Hyun-do's shoulders, asks him to react. That it's not like that. Instead of defending himself, he blames himself. She demands that he repeat that he is not guilty, that he did the right thing, that the breakup is her fault. After closing the office, Yumin agrees to let him take her home. On the way to the car, she asks him to remember this talk if he has those thoughts again. She says a relationship is a matter for two, so no one can be the only one to blame for the breakup. According to Hyun-do, this contradicts Yumin's words, who only blamed one side. But she believes he has tortured himself enough and wanted to balance the situation. The blame must be shared equally among everyone, or everything will go wrong. Even if she behaves the same way, she does it because she doesn't know how to let go of the people she loves. To Hyun-do's question about whether he is someone close to her, the girl replies with a smile that yes, just as she is to him, since he even prepared a dessert for her. The boy had never had close friends of the opposite sex before. As a child, he studied at an all-boys school and felt more comfortable talking to them. After starting a relationship, he didn't feel the desire to get close to other girls and, logically, he didn't form other bonds. Perhaps because she was his first friend, Hyun-do behaved differently with her than with others, and he knew it himself. Seeing her now, it seemed quite logical to him. She is in a similar situation and understands him well. They recall how Tae-jun talked about the imminent cherry blossom bloom, where he suggested the four of them go. Suddenly, Yumin suggests to Hyun-do that they go see the flowers alone, since they should have a date. The boy looks at her surprised, and the girl corrects herself, emphasizing that it's not a real date. She suggests Hyun-do admire the bloom in the park near his house, as there are many cherry trees. In reality, the girl went to that park every spring with Kim Jae-seon. A few years ago, she lay on a bench, fascinated, watching the petals fall from the sky. Jae-seon approached the girl to make sure she was okay. And that's how they met. Kim Jae-seon is already getting ready to go to work, while her friend is barely getting up, feeling terrible because of last night's alcohol. Looking around, he notices that the photo with Yumin is still on the shelf. According to him, she gave the impression of someone who, after a breakup, would definitely come back. It's very noticeable when someone is too attached to another person. And Yumin was like that. It was evident how much she depended on Lee Seon. The boy doesn't understand why, in that case, that girl left his friend. Lee Seon confesses that he is going to text her. He cannot be indifferent because she is almost like family to him. Sadly, he realizes that if they had gotten married, they would have been a real family. Tae-jun asks Hyun-do if he knows the large building they are remodeling. Customers were just commenting that a chef is building a new restaurant there. The young man worries about how this could affect his cafe. The doors open, and when Tae-jun goes to greet the new customer, Hyun-do hears him suddenly stutter with excitement. The boy lifts his head to understand what is wrong with his friend, and at that moment he sees Seo-jong. Shin Arana, having arrived for her meeting at the production agency, her manager asked her to wait in the common room while she checked the documents. Upon entering, Erin was surprised to find So-young sitting there, and somewhat embarrassed. She greeted the famous actress. After introducing herself, she showered her with compliments. She had seen all her works. Without taking her eyes off her phone, the actress thanked the girl, who recalled their meeting at the awards ceremony. So-young listened halfway, while studying Hyun-do's social media profile. Erin wanted to say something more, but So Young's silence made her feel intrusive. And she shut up. Suddenly, the famous actress Da Seon Bae entered, who was happy to see both girls there. Upon seeing an old acquaintance, So Young jumped up and they started chatting animatedly. According to her, she was getting very bored waiting for the manager. And she was happy about Aaron's appearance. Xingbi was happy that the girls were already friends and asked So Young to take care of Aaron as she had taken care of her at the time. Since they were all gathered, the woman suggested they all go out somewhere. According to So Young, there is a place she has wanted to visit for a long time. And so, the three girls, two famous stars and one beginner, enter Hyun-doo's cafe. Attracting stares, Tae-jun, excited, runs to the kitchen to inform the chef about the visit of the celebrities. Hyun-doo tells the boy to cook, and he himself prepares to serve that table. Taking a bottle of water, he approaches So Young and places it on the table. Sun Bae asks the girl to recommend something from the menu, but she confesses that it is also her first time there. Turning to the chef, she asks him with a smile to advise them on something. Hyun-doo was at the computer, creating the menu, when Sajung went to see him earlier than usual. The girl was happy that he moved to the next house, and now they could see each other more often. Hyun-doo offered Sajung to look at the menu, but she said it wasn't necessary. Everything is delicious. As she left for another room, she began to recount what had happened to her on the film set today. Hyun-doo suggests preparing 4 different dishes for the girls. He returns to the kitchen, and Sojong follows him with a look full of sadness. When her friends ask her how she knew this place, she replies that a friend told her a long time ago. But was it slow to arrive? Hyun-doo returns to the kitchen, where Tae-geun is still complaining about the injustice of not having served the stars' table. He apologizes to his friend for taking away the opportunity to see the celebrities up close. Hyun-doo never imagined that this would happen right after they separated. After eating, the girls enthusiastically thank Tae-jun, who offered to charge them for the incredible food. While paying the bill, Sojong approaches the kitchen and watches Hyun-doo. The girl tells him that the dishes were delicious and that she will definitely visit again. Clenching the rag with which he was wiping the table, Hyun-doo begs her not to return, since he will no longer wait for her. The manager and Hak-young were also at lunch. And now, after picking up So-young, everyone heads to work. Hak-young saw that the actress posted a bag from the Yoo-min brand on her social media, and now they chat about it. So-young confesses that she recently chatted with the girl in an informal setting and felt the desire to be her friend. As she says this, the actress examines Yoo-min's social media page. Hak-young would love to meet the three of them next time, just as So-young suggests. However, despite her desire, she suddenly rejects the idea. This surprises So-young, since her stylist is close to the girl. Hak-young explains that now their relationship is somewhat uncertain, since Yoo-min is his brother's ex-girlfriend. Upon hearing this, So-young asks for more details if she doesn't mind. Yoo-min returns to the office with coffee for her colleagues, and they thank her for the gesture. He asks the girl to check her phone, which she left in the office, because it has vibrated several times. Thinking it's a client or Hyun-doo, the protagonist picks up the phone and freezes in astonishment. Sitting in front of a cup of coffee, Yoo-min tries to calm the trembling in her hands and tries to stop being nervous. She repeats to herself that running into her ex is not a reason to get upset and that no one else reacts this way to this. On second thought, only she never knew how to act. And it was like that before and after her relationship. Kim Jae-si-han approaches the table and greets the girl with a smile. 13 years ago, upon seeing that smile for the first time, he couldn't think of anything else. The students surrounded the professor's son, admiring his beauty. Kim Hyun-woo was somewhat uneasy about his son's sudden popularity among the students. Yoo-min observed what was happening from behind her classmates' backs. Gathering her courage, she asked the professor what his son's name was. 5 years have passed since that day, and one afternoon, Yoo-min was returning tired from work through the park. In the morning she studied, and at night she worked, so she decided to sit on a bench to rest. Seeing the beauty of the cherry petals falling, she lay down on the bench to admire them. And at that moment, Kim Jae-seon approached the girl to find out if she was okay. Surprised to see him there, Yoo-min suddenly stood up and calling him by name. She started to apologize. Jae-seon thought she had gotten sick, but she, already standing, explained that she was just very tired. And she had lain down. She asked him not to worry, and he asked her how she knew his name. Sitting together on the bench, they began to talk about school days, when Jae-seon's father taught Yoo-min. She recounted, laughing, how she caused a real chaos when she visited his school for some errand. Then, Yoo-min remembered his face and his name. And now, it turns out they were in the same university. The girl looked at the boy and regretted not having recognized him sooner. Kim Jae-seon suggested to Yoo-min that they exchange phone numbers. And so, amidst falling cherry petals, the protagonist coincidentally reconnected with her first love. And all this made her expect something incredibly romantic. Yoo-min's infatuation was inevitable, and as their friendship developed, the liking for Jae-seon grew stronger. One day, passing by the university, she ran into him in the company of friends. The boys immediately started asking Jae-seon who she was, and he replied that the girl was a student of his father. Leaving his friends, the boy suggested to Yoo-min that he invite her for a cup of coffee. Despite his friend's annoyance, Jae-seon changed his time with them that day for a date. Being his father's student made their relationship something very, very special. Jae-seon worried seeing her study so much and advised her to rest more. Yoo-min told him that it wasn't necessary for him to go to the project exhibition. Jae-seon didn't understand why she didn't want him to, since she liked all his works and projects. He sensed her insecurity and supported her with simple, affectionate words. Upon meeting again after class, Jae-seon apologized for being late. The first-year students detained him. He was popular, although, as he confessed, sometimes it tired him. Blushing, Yoo-min hopefully suggested that maybe it would be easier if he had a girlfriend. Jae-seon agreed, but thought he couldn't date just anyone. He commented laughingly that in that case, everything would be even more complicated. Intimate and friendly conversations, those adorable moments gradually accumulated, and Yoo-min's love strengthened. Of course, in a short time, her unrequited love clashed with reality. Apart from her, there were many other students of his father around Jae-seon. Speaking softly and kindly, he tried to get close to others, and those were his communication methods. In reality, Jae-seon's gaze was kind, but indifferent. He tried to get close to Yoo-min, but didn't want to cross the line. To him, she wasn't special, but he was special to her, which is why she gave a romantic meaning to everything that happened. He suspected it, and she perceived everything as she wanted, because that is the nature of unrequited love. And yet, understanding how many were like her, Yoo-min had hope. After hearing once again about her friend's suffering, Jae-hee convinced her to confess to Jae-seon. Because what did it matter when to do it, if they would reject her anyway? Speaking on the phone, Yoo-min was heading to the school to see the professor who had summoned her for something. Upon reaching the classroom, the girl knocked on the door, but Kim Hyun did not answer. Seeing that the door was open, Yoo-min entered and found the professor lying on the floor. Childhood memories flashed before her eyes of when they revived her father. With tears in her eyes, she ran to help the professor. Yoo-min, head bowed, waited at the hospital where Kim Hyun had been taken by ambulance. Kim Jae-seon approached and hugged the girl, who couldn't stop crying. Days later, Yoo-min met him in the park to find out about the professor, who was still unconscious. He was already breathing on his own. The girl blamed herself for talking to her friend. If she had arrived earlier, this wouldn't have happened. Jae-seon hugged Yoo-min and asked her not to think like that. She had saved his father's life. Soon, Kim Hyun regained consciousness, and although the brain damage was minor, he had to stay in the hospital for a while. Yoo-min helped take care of him, despite Jae-seon and his father's attempts to dissuade her. She had already decided to take a gap year in her 4th year, so she had free time. Yoo-min's mother thought her behavior was stupid, but the girl knew how selfish she really was. Behind her eagerness to help her mentor, a dark desire to get close to Yaesun this way was hidden. Then Yoo-min understood that her love was actually calculating and perverse. Yaesun also took a gap year to take care of his father and assume the role of head of the family. When she couldn't go to the hospital due to her job, Yoo-min took care of the professor. She also helped Ha-jeong, who during that period was preparing for exams. Observing them, Yoo-min seemed terribly scared to Jae-seon, and he didn't dare do anything. A year passed like this, and discharge day arrived, to which the protagonist went with a bouquet of flowers. Yoo-min suggested immortalizing the moment and taking a family photo. But Ha Gi-hae-hung and Kim Hyun insisted that the girl also be in the photo with them. Then Jae Hae-hung snatched the phone from Yoo-min and asked the nurse to take the picture. The woman, impressed by the family harmony, captured the moment in an image, and thus they got that photo, where Yoo-min looks shyly at Jae Hae-hung's hand on her shoulder. After returning to university, Yoo-min and Kim Jae Hae-hung continued their usual routines. They kept seeing each other from time to time, having lunch, drinking coffee, and chatting about anything. Yumin thought about how hard it would be, after graduating, to sit alone on the bench where she used to meet with Yaesun. She feared that, upon starting work, they would see each other less and less. And it was with these thoughts that the boy found her. Yaesun asked the girl what was making her sad, and she told him how hard it was to think about life after graduation. Yumin felt that after university, only total darkness awaited her. Jae-seong was going to talk about this with the girl after graduation, but he decided to say it right now. Turning to Yumin, he suggested that they start dating. Frozen in surprise for an instant, the protagonist put her coffee on the bench and threw herself into Jae-seong's arms. She listened to his heartbeat, and it seemed too calm for such an important moment. Yumin was aware that he had asked her out not because he liked her, but she didn't care. She understood that their feelings did not coincide, but he did not know how incomplete she felt because of it. The boy's love was not passionate, but it was constant and calm, and that constancy gave Yumin security. Just as she dreamed, Jae-seong told her he liked her, and later even declared himself. Although the boy didn't seem sentimental, Yumin believed him, since he was not one to make empty promises. And now she is sitting opposite Jae-seong, wondering why he asked to meet. She is intrigued what he wants to tell her, and if he regrets losing her. However, Jae-seong remains silent, and that silence begins to exasperate the protagonist. Finally, the boy speaks, and asks Yumin how she is, and if his invitation surprised her. In reality, Jae-seong believed that after a breakup, it's best not to keep in touch. He felt that texting the girl after breaking up, at her request, would be disrespectful to her decision. Yaesun confesses that he lived with that idea, until one day he saw Yumin on the street. And he was happy for her. He recounts how he saw her with someone through a restaurant window. Yumin starts to think who Yaesun might have seen her with. Realizing that her silly plan worked, the girl suddenly felt confused. The protagonist imagines how surprised Hyun-do will be when she tells him everything. It turns out that all her effort during this time was not in vain. Playing with her fingers, Kim Jae-seon finally decides to tell Yumin why he called her. He suggests to the girl, if she doesn't mind, to go back to being friends like before. Hyun-do is sitting in a cafe, constantly checking if Yumin has responded to his message. He is worried about how much she works, as this could affect the young woman's health. At that moment, his friend, with whom he had arranged to meet, approaches the boys' table. They decide to have a drink, and the friend comments that Hyun-do looks good. It gives the impression that the boy was going on a date, not meeting a friend. The friend thought Hyun-do would be devastated after the breakup. He even suspects that he might have gotten back together with Sejong. Hyun-do denies this, although they have seen each other several times, and she has visited his cafe. The boy himself doesn't understand what he saw in So-young to date her for years. Perhaps he liked her bold character, her ambition, and although their views were different, he felt her love. But now Hyun-do doesn't understand anything, even though until recently he still had feelings. According to his friend, if they broke up, it's for a reason. It makes no sense to relive those emotions. He didn't like that girl from the beginning when Hyun-do introduced her, before So-young's debut. The boy tried so hard for her, found a house, organized everything, and she treated him shamelessly. Hyun-do didn't see anything wrong even in So-young, asking him to pretend to be her manager on dates. But his friend was worried that the girl acted like that before her debut, when it was unlikely anyone would recognize her on the street. It infuriates him that Hyun-do never traveled with his girlfriend. They don't even have photos together. The boy doesn't understand why something that never bothered him in that relationship bothers him now. Suddenly, Hyun-do realizes that his friend has trouble seeing from the outside what he was like with Sejong, because now he himself has a friend who is in a similar situation. The boy stares at him and asks Hyun-do what gender his friend is. Noticing that he is evading the answer, he understands that it is a girl. Hyun-do doesn't understand his friend's surprise about his friendship with a girl, but he doesn't remember him talking about anyone other than Sejong. He wants to know absolutely everything about her, and so he bombards the boy with questions. According to Hyun-do, this girl works very hard, connects easily with people, and is honest with her feelings. The friend observes the boy closely and suddenly smiles slyly. He is sure that Hyun-do cannot just be friends with that girl. If it were so, he wouldn't smile so sheepishly. Although the boy insists they are just friends, he advises him not to give himself completely to the relationship this time. However, Hyun-do is sure that his friend says that because he doesn't know the girl. because she is tied to her past even more than him, and surely he means nothing to her. Upon returning home, Hyun-do showers and upon exiting, discovers a message from Yoo-min. She suggests they meet tomorrow night, see the cherry blossoms, and ride bikes because she wants to tell him something. Hyun-do doesn't know how to ride a bike, but Yoo-min promises to teach him. The boy can't get his friend's words out of his head about how Hyun-do smiles shyly when talking about her. At nightfall the next day, Yoo-min arrives at a park full of loving couples. The girl is irritated by the craze for cherry blossoms, but Hyun-do distracts her from her negative thoughts by arriving at the date. They comment that they didn't expect to see so many people in the park. Yoo-min smiles and suggests taking a ride later, and in the meantime, just walk around and chat. The protagonist says that her ex-boyfriend texted her yesterday. Hyun-do, upon hearing this, is startled and listens silently to Yoo-min's story. According to her, he saw them together, and although he didn't text out of jealousy, everything turned out as they had planned. After a brief silence, Hyun-do asks if Yoo-min plans to get back together with him. The girl tells him that he suggested they remain friends. Hyun-do is surprised, since neither he nor Yoo-min are the type to be friends with their exes. Getting very close to the girl, he asks if she has really decided to be his friend. Yoo-min's proposal to be friends surprised her last night. She didn't expect it at all. The protagonist knew Kim Jae-si-han as someone kind, but at the same time, very determined. He wouldn't contact his ex without a reason, and that's why she was so confused. Apparently, Yoo-min didn't know him as well as she thought. However, the strangest thing is that she didn't feel any negative emotion about it. They were not the words she expected, but for some reason, she didn't feel sad or angry. On second thought, remaining friends wasn't a bad option after all. Although it seemed strange to Yoo-min that Jae-seon suggested that to her when he had a girlfriend. Suddenly, the boy told her that his father also missed her and would love for them to be friends. At that moment, Yoo-min understood the real reason behind his proposal, but she decided not to get discouraged and agreed to try to be friends again. Upon hearing Hyun-do's words, Yoo-min feels the same confusion as yesterday because he didn't react as she expected. Knowing that the girl accepted, he reminds her how she said that her ex still makes her heart beat faster. He wants to understand how Yoo-min can be friends with someone she has feelings for. Getting even closer to the girl, Hyun-do asks if she is going to love her friend unrequitedly. He believes it will be even more humiliating, and only then does he realize what he just blurted out. Hyun-do doesn't understand what's wrong with him and why Yoo-min's story got him worked up. He lowers his head and apologizes to the girl for his words. Yoo-min assumes he says that out of envy, because he is not succeeding with his ex, whereas she might still succeed. Hyun-do thinks that maybe she is right. Otherwise, he cannot explain why his mood worsened so much. He confesses to Yoo-min that she might be right. He apologizes again and begs her to look at him. Hyun-do always knew how to exasperate the girl with his words, and she could easily ignore him since they weren't close. But now everything is different. Suddenly, the boy kneels before Yoo-min and, taking her hand, tells her that he was wrong. Hyun-do begs her for just one chance and she agrees, just so he gets up quickly, since everyone is looking at them. The girl doesn't understand why he begs for forgiveness so shamelessly, but he doesn't know how to speak nicely, so he decided to be honest. As an apology, he wants to prepare something delicious and healthy to bring to her office at a time convenient for her. Yoo-min is indignant, saying he thinks she is easily pleased with food. However, a moment later, she asks if she can choose something that is not on the menu. Hyun-do accepts and only asks her to tell him in advance so he can prepare the ingredients. He thanks the girl for accepting his apologies. Yoo-min advises him not to get complacent because she plans to get revenge when she teaches him to ride a bike. After renting a bicycle, she tells him to get on, hold the handlebars, and pedal. But to Hyun-do, the explanation seems too brief. The girl asks him to stop chatting and get on the handlebars already, while she takes out her phone. She is going to record his first bike ride on video. Hyun-do already regrets having accepted, because he will surely look ridiculous, since he doesn't know how to ride. Watching his clumsy attempts to ride, Yoo-min constantly criticizes the boy. However, he is obviously more determined than she thought. The girl already regrets being so mean, and that she should have explained better how it's done. But just as Yoo-min decides to get closer and teach him properly, a dog runs out onto the road, and Hyun-do loses his balance. A boy falls off the bike and, oh surprise, Yoo-min runs to help him on one side, and the puppy's owner on the other. The man apologizes because the boy got hurt because of his pet, but he doesn't get up. Although he insists that he is fine, he refuses for the man to pay for the treatment. And Yumin realizes. Hyundo doesn't get up because of embarrassment. When the stranger finally leaves, he tells the girl that it would be great if she left too. She forcefully takes his hand away from his face. Yumin notices how much he hit his chin. Hyundo tries to convince her that everything is fine, but she, lifting his face, examines the huge scrape. Since the pharmacies are closed, Yumin wants to run to the 24-hour store to buy bandages and ointment, but unexpectedly, Hyun-do moves the girl's hand away from his face and squeezes it tightly in his. For a moment, they sit on the ground in total silence, staring into each other's eyes. Reacting, Yumin blushes and apologizes for startling him with her sudden touch. Hyun-do says he has learned enough about the bike, so it's time to go home. The boy turns and leaves, while Yumin follows him silently, thoughtfully. In the office, the girls discuss where to have lunch, and Jae-hee suggests going out somewhere. Yumin suggests the cafe where Taejun works. The food was incredible last time. She gives in, saying they can go somewhere else. But her friend thinks, to deny is to confirm. In the end, they all unanimously decide to go to that cafe. The temptation is too great, and shortly after, Taejun welcomes them to the place. The atmosphere becomes charged. Hyun-do turns around, and Yumin and he exchange glances. A moment of palpable tension. She whispers to him if his scratch has healed, pointing to the bandage on his chin. Worried, he feels it and steps aside, while Yumin runs after her friends, who are calling her to the table. Days later, the protagonist discovers online that a new place has opened near where Hyun-do lives. She texts him telling him the news and suggests they go together, but he rejects the idea due to his tight schedule. A few more days pass, and Yumin prepares for dinner with her friend Jae-hee. Once again, she rereads the conversation with Hyun-do, who once again rejected her. She has the feeling that, for some reason, he is avoiding her, and even in the cafe, he avoided looking her in the eye. She was so lost in her thoughts that she didn't even hear her friend calling her several times. Jae-hee offers Yumin some alcohol, but she refuses because she doesn't feel well. Her friend, worried, asks her if her discomfort has anything to do with her constantly checking her phone lately. But she smiles and replies that she is just a little under the weather due to the change of season. However, the fact that Jae-hee noticed her constantly looking at her phone says a lot about her. The friend serves the girl more food so she can recover soon. After dinner, they decide to go to a cafe and have a cup of coffee. Taejun joins them, whom Hyun-do let leave work early today. Yumin is surprised. She thought there was a lot of work at the cafe, but according to Taejun, they have few customers lately. A new restaurant recently opened nearby, and because of this, there are fewer customers. Thus, Yumin understands that Hyun-do was ignoring her messages, not because he was busy with work. Leaving her friend alone with her boyfriend, the protagonist leaves the cafe, and at that moment Hyun-do calls her. She answers the phone and asks if he feels better. Upon learning that the girl is going home, he is surprised. Since he knew about her meeting with Jae-hee and Daegeon, Yumin confesses that she doesn't feel well, and the boy starts to worry. He insists that she take the medicine, but she is sure she will recover on her own. She just needs to sleep. The girl decides to ask Hyun-do if she offended him in any way, as she feels he is deliberately avoiding her. According to the boy, he hasn't been sleeping well lately. He is tired and his head is full of thoughts. He promises to meet when she feels better and advises her to go to bed upon arriving home. But Yumin will still work a little. After hanging up, the protagonist decides to believe Hyun-do, as he has no reason to lie about deliberately avoiding her. After working a little, the girl decides to go to sleep because she feels very tired. At that moment, she receives a message from Hyun-do. He writes that, just in case, he left medicine and ginger syrup at her door. The girl opens the door and finds a bag with medicine tied to the knob. The boy apologizes for coming unannounced and hopes the medicine helps her, and she can sleep well. Yumin looks around, but there is no one at the entrance anymore. With his head down, Hyun-do walks slowly down the street and suddenly hears footsteps behind him. Upon turning around, he sees Yumin, who calls him, hugging a bag with medicine to her chest. The boy doesn't understand why the girl decided to go out onto the street if she doesn't feel well. However, Yumin couldn't just leave him and asks him where he could have gotten ginger syrup at this hour. He himself prepared several jars, and the girl confesses that she cannot simply let him go after such a gift. Yumin proposes to Hyun-do to come up to her house for a moment. Frozen for an instant in surprise, he asks her if she is inviting him at this hour. Realizing her mistake, Hyun-min apologizes and states that she had no strange intentions. Time just got away from her. Hyun-do smiles and says everything is fine, asking her to go home, and he will wait until she arrives. Hyun-min thanks him once again for the package and promises to enjoy it all. She asks the boy to be careful on his way home and promises to return his kindness. Running home and closing the door behind her, she sits on the floor and feeling a strong heat. She thinks she has a fever. Sitting in the car with his head resting on the steering wheel, Hyun-do scolds himself for being completely crazy to visit Yumin at this hour. A few days ago, after riding bikes, he thanked her for accompanying him home. After showering and treating his scrape, Hyun-do lay in bed, thinking about Yumin's friendship with her ex-boyfriend. Unlike him and Seo-young, they have every chance to improve their communication, and they can spend time together again like before. He thought that guy surely still felt something for Yumin, and maybe she would want to spend time only with him. Hyun-do thought that since he had made contact, it meant the girl's plan had succeeded, and they no longer needed to meet. However, he would still like to see Yumin, as she considers him her friend. He tossed and turned in bed for a long time, remembering their intertwined hands, and felt that the insomnia, already forgotten, was returning with force. When days later he heard Yumin's voice in his cafe, he turned instantly. He needed to confirm it was her. After greeting her and looking away, he felt his heart pounding and blood rushing to his face uncontrollably. Upon receiving her proposal to meet, he thought he still needed her and that the plan was still in motion. It wasn't over yet. He felt sudden relief, but upon realizing it, confusion flooded him, and he doubted whether he should continue seeing Yumin. The days passed, and although Hyun-do avoided contact, the girl stubbornly insisted on continuing to text him. He didn't understand if she did it out of a lack of pride, or if she simply didn't care if he replied. Or not. So, Hyun-do decided to let it be for now and meet her later, without rushing. Upon seeing that she had sent him a video of her on the bike, at first he thought about asking her to delete it immediately. But in the end, he watched it, listening with a smile to her voice and how she gave him directions, feeling a strange warmth. The boy listened to her advice to move forward without looking back, and was stunned for an instant. Hyun-do stared in amazement at her smiling face, captured by Yumin in that video. He put the phone aside and sank into deep thoughts. And now, behind the wheel, Hyun-do admits to himself that he deliberately refused to go up to see Yumin. In reality, he wanted to visit her, prepare her a hot tea, and cool her burning face with his hands. Hyun-do remembers asking her how she could be friends with someone she had feelings for. And suddenly, he realizes how idiotic he is. So-young participated in a cooking show alongside Chef Kim Mason, who has recently been causing a stir. The girl confesses that she was afraid of getting in the way, since she doesn't cook very well. But everyone was kind to her and explained everything to her in detail. So Jong got along especially well with the restaurant chef. The three of them joke on camera about how the girl fell under the chef's charm. With a straight face, So Jong continues acting and praises the chef, even though she doesn't feel well. The actress vomits again, trying to recover in the bathroom. She explains to her worried manager that she ate something bad yesterday, and her stomach still hurts. They discuss Chef Mason's new trendy restaurant, where everything is beautiful on the outside, but the food is disgusting. The girl is indignant about how that cook could have become so popular and famous. And just then she receives a message. She smiles and asks her manager if he has plans today, because Hyun-do suggested they meet. The assistant smells something fishy, because the boy hadn't shown any signs of life in a while. And now suddenly he texts that, although So-young believes that Hyun-do, even if he stumbles, is incapable of suddenly changing. She has been busy all this time and paid little attention to him, so now she must adapt to him. The manager thinks So-young's faith that people don't change is stupid, but when it comes to Hyun-do, she always says naive nonsense. However, she still wonders which of the two is truly stronger, who doesn't trust anyone and blindly believes in just one person, or who convinced her to believe that way. Yumin tells Jae-hee that she wants to focus on clothing and footwear, but initially doesn't want to expand the range, but rather launch some test models. Her friend thinks this decision is too hasty, since her brand has not yet consolidated its position, and it could be a misstep. Her colleague likes Yumin's idea, since accessories like keychains and wallets sold well. The other colleague shares Jae-hee's opinion more, although the idea of expanding the range seems good to her. Still, since Yumin is so enthusiastic, her friend cannot dissuade her and will support her in everything. With this, their meeting ends, and the protagonist thanks them for all their work. Tae-jun texts Jae-hee that their cafe will send them beef rib soup for lunch. Yumin blushes and squeezes a cup in her hands, listening to her friends talk about the upcoming lunch. Jae-hee asks her friend if she likes him, and she, even redder, vehemently denies it. The girl murmurs that he is a good person, but the other doesn't understand. If she asked about the soup, Jae-hee asks what Yumin is drinking all the time, and she shows him her ginger tea. To her friend's question about whether it's not too spicy to drink so much, she replies that it is surprisingly sweet. After eating the soup from the cafe, the protagonist texts Hyun-do that it was better than her mother's. And he smiles. Removing the bandage from his head, he decides to take a walk during his break. Tae-jun watches through the window as Hyun-do talks to someone. He hasn't seen his friend on the street with his phone in a long time, so he thinks the boy has someone. Meanwhile, Hyun-do talks to Yumin about how she feels, and she confesses that the medicine and tea have given her energy. He suggests making more fruit syrups, and she offers him a bag from her brand, even though they are women's models. Hyun-do chats sweetly with Yumin on the phone, and two girls observe them as they pass by. The boy is so likable to them that they decide to look him up on the restaurant's social media page. Yumin begs him to stop inviting her, but Hyun-do insists that it's no trouble for him. A strange feeling invades the girl, and she asks if he accidentally added anything else to the syrup. But there are only basic ingredients. When Hyun-do returns to the cafe, Tae-jun tells him that Jae-hee and her colleagues loved the invitation. He doesn't understand why the chef sent them a dish that they had to prepare themselves. If it's not on the menu, according to Hyun-do, they are acquaintances who have visited the cafe several times. Without thinking much, the boy says he is Tae-jun's friend and did it for him. Taking advantage of the moment, the boy asks Hyun-do for permission to post their photo on the cafe's page. A new restaurant opened nearby, and they are getting fewer reservations. They need publicity. Hyun-do was washing dishes when So-young approached from behind and, hugging him, told him that she was a little nervous before the cafe opening. If customers start photographing him and posting on social media or inviting him to shows, it will be harder for them to appear in public together. Hyun-do promised that wouldn't happen and suggested to So-young that she visit his cafe sometimes. He asked her not to worry, and if necessary, he even promised not to greet her or meet after closing with the curtains drawn. Finally, Hyun-do accepts Tae-jun's proposal, who is very happy, since the chef's renewed look will surely attract customer attention. Hyun-do enters the restaurant where they had agreed to meet with So-young. Sejong goes up to the second floor and enters a private VIP room where the girl is already waiting for him. To his question of whether they could meet in a place like this, Sejong replies that these types of establishments are better than a cafe or a house. Without waiting for the boy to tell her the reason for their meeting, she prepares to tell him something first. Sejong regrets what she said in their last meeting when she asked him if she wanted her to beg him to come back. She apologizes for that and deeply regrets it. According to her, she should have visited him more often at his cafe, and now he cooks even more deliciously than before. When he cooked for her, the girl suggests to Hyun-do that they meet occasionally somewhere. The boy confesses that he wanted to see her regret and attempts to return, and that's why he created a social media account and posted photos, knowing she would find them. So-young knows this and understands that he acted that way out of resentment. However, now that Hyun-do has heard from her what he had been hoping for so long, he feels nothing, and he is not even sure if he really wanted all this. He wanted to meet to definitively end everything and ask her to live her life and dedicate herself to her business, as before. Seo-jeong takes his hand and asks him if Yumin is the reason for his decision. But according to him, it doesn't matter. The actress tells Hyun-do that Yumin's ex-boyfriend is her first love. And furthermore, her stylist turned out to be the younger sister of that boy. From what she recounts, he has a stable job and a decent family. His younger sister is sincere and radiant, so her brother must be the same. According to So-young, it's what they both want but cannot have, although Hyun-do doesn't understand what she means. The actress believes Yumin won't be with him for long, but will eventually return to her ex. People with quiet lives attract each other, and those with flawed lives stick with their own kind. Ripping his sleeve from So-jong's hand, Hyun-do leaves if he has said everything. He advises her not to even think about harming Yoo-min or her company, but she wouldn't go that far. She promises to wait for him, and although Hyun-do doesn't like it, he himself made her cling to him. Upon leaving the room, the boy says that all that doesn't matter, because the outcome will be the same. So Young asks him not to tell Yoo-min that they were a couple, because she is famous, and that could humiliate her. Hyun-do looks at her, sighs deeply, and leaves the room, slamming the door. As he walks through the night city, he wonders if So Young understood that she was also his first love. He suddenly stops when the phrase that Yoo-min might be with him comes to mind, but in the end, she will return to her ex. The next night, Yoo-min and Jae-hee decide to have dinner at a friend's house, and then invite them out if they have time. Upon entering the cafe's page, the protagonist is surprised to discover that they have posted a photo of Hyun-do. It seems the boy finally accepted reality, and the girl decides to tease him about it later. Suddenly, her friend nudges her on the shoulder, and looking up, Yoo-min freezes in surprise. The cafe is full of people, and Jae-hee sees so many people inside for the first time. Tae-jaeon happily greets his girlfriend, for whom he has prepared a table in advance. To his question of where Joo-min is, the girl replies that she ran into a friend on the way, and will join them later. Tae-jaeon suggests inviting both of them to the cafe, and then Jae-hee admits that she was actually referring to her ex-boyfriend. Hearing this conversation, Hyun-do's hand trembled, and he cut his finger until it bled. Yoo-min is sitting in a cafe opposite Kim Jae-sehan, who brought the girl a gift. He managed to get her an autograph from the short-haired actress, whom the young woman admires so much. Thinking for a moment, Yoo-min realizes that it is Seo-young. She asks Jae-sehan how he managed to get her autograph. The night before, the boy was with friends in the same restaurant where Hyun-do met Seo-jong. He saw his neighbor enter the restaurant, but he walked past, not noticing him. Hyun-do went up to the second floor towards the private rooms. Jae-seon thought how small the world is, since one can run into acquaintances everywhere. The boy's university friends didn't know that he and Yoo-min had broken up, and they asked him about the wedding. The boys were surprised to learn about the breakup and bombarded Jae-seon with questions about what went wrong. They were sure everything was going well between them and couldn't imagine what could go wrong. The night was ending, and Kim Jae-seon began to prepare to go home. One of the friends wished him strength to forget his ex-girlfriend and start over. Jae-seon murmured something unintelligible about not planning to forget her. Upon leaving the restaurant, the boy accidentally bumped into a girl at the door who was walking with her head down. Looking down, Yaesan noticed in her hands a bag from his ex-girlfriend's favorite brand. Focusing on the girl, from whose eyes tears were welling up, he recognized the very celebrity that Yoo-min admired so much. Yaesan offered to call an employee to help her, but the girl refused because no one should see her. The boy smiles and, paling slightly, recounts how things turned out the night before for him to get the autograph. In reality, Yoo-min thought he had gotten it from Ha Jeong, who is the actress's stylist. But Jae-seon didn't even remember it. The boy has always been a bit scatterbrained, and although he has no interest in celebrities at all, he somehow managed to get the autograph. Now it won't be hard for Yoo-min to get something like that through Ha Jeong, and he isn't even aware of this. Jae-hyun doesn't change, whether she is his girlfriend or just a friend. He is always kind, in any situation. He suggests to Yoo-min that they have dinner together, if she has time. Since he didn't come empty-handed, she can't refuse him, so she accepts, on the condition that she pays. The protagonist runs into the cafe, apologizing to her friends for being late. According to Jae-hye, the girl arrived just in time, as they have only just arrived. Yoo-min greets Hyun-do, but he replies briefly to her greeting, avoiding eye contact. According to Tae-jun, everyone was eager to know every detail of her date with her ex. Finally, Hyun-do looks up at Yoo-min and confesses that he was also curious, and he was waiting to hear it. The girl apologizes in advance if they expected something more exciting, but she felt awkward rejecting him, so they just had dinner. To Tae-jun, it's obvious he wants to get back together. No one waits for their ex after work just to get an autograph. Jae-hee thinks that Tae-jun doesn't realize how kind and attentive he is, but that there are no ulterior motives. While they debate this, Yoo-min looks at Hyun-do with surprise. Despite saying he was interested, the boy seems distracted and doesn't react to her story. With his head resting on his hands, Hyun-do stares fixedly at a point in space. Under the table, Yoo-min brushes her boot against the tip of his shoe. Hyun-do lifts his head and looks at the girl, confused. She whispers, asking what's wrong with him and why he is so down. The boy blushes and, frowning, moves away from Yumin. Not understanding why he is ignoring her, the girl starts hitting his leg nonstop. But he, suddenly, wraps his legs around her so tightly that she cannot move it. Taejun asks Hyun do what he thinks Yumin's ex-boyfriend intends. According to the boy, he cannot answer that question, but he considers Yumin's feelings more important. Squeezing her leg even tighter, he looks her in the eyes and asks if she wants to get back with her ex. Ha Kyung arrives at work and hears everyone commenting that Seo Jong looked today and worked badly. The actress is sitting in the car, trying to understand why the guy she threw up on yesterday only asked for an autograph and refused the money for the dry cleaner. The manager thinks he is just a fan, but Seo Young doesn't believe it and thinks he will blackmail her and ask for money. The manager freaks out because the girl drank until she vomited, and she never drinks. He called her in the middle of the night. According to Seo Young, she was devastated because Hyun Do decided to leave her for good. What a drama. The manager tells the actress not to worry about that guy because they have his business card. So Young sees that the guy works at a good company, but someone knocks on the door and in fright, she drops the card. Ha Young offers the actress something for fatigue and realizes that something fell. Oops, oops, oops. Picking up the card from the floor, the girl looks at it with a surprised face. This is getting interesting. Welcome. Turning to Sejong, she asks how it is that the actress has the card of her brother. Bombshell. Jae-hee doesn't want her friend to date him again. It makes no sense to start all over again. She thinks she should meet new people and seeks Hyun Doo's support for her words. Let's see what he says. Without taking his eyes off Yumin, the boy nods, smiling, and removes his leg from the girl's. Jae-hee had never seen Hyun Doo smile like that, and it worries her. The girl became so distressed for her friend that Taegun suggests they step away and have a drink alone. Alone with Hyun Doo, Yumin asks him what all that was about. She got scared when he grabbed her leg and fears, imagining what would have happened if the others had seen it. Unmoved, Hyun Doo replies that he would simply say it was a joke, because that's what it was. However, Yumin cannot shake the feeling that he did something that no one else should see. The girl notices a cut on Hyun Doo's finger, and he says he cut himself while cooking, without specifying why. Yumin happened to have bandages with her, and she rummages through her purse to take them out. Since the bandage is very thin, the girl asks Hyun Doo to give her his hand to help her put it on. As she puts on the bandage, she comments that he hurts himself constantly and must be a clumsy person. Hyun Doo demands an answer. Does Yumin want to get back with her ex? The tension is palpable. Friendship is enough for her. She fears that anguish and loneliness will return if they reconcile. Yumin admits that her enthusiasm has vanished. Hyun Doo understands. They were both hostages of their emotions. After a silence bomb, he reveals that he has it all clear now. What is he plotting? Yumin needs to know. Has he completely gotten over his ex? Intrigue consumes us. He confesses that he broke up with her for good. Yumin can't believe it. Knowing how hard it was, she proposes a toast. It takes courage for that. Despite his apparent indifference, the decision must have been hell. What a big step. Suddenly, Yumin asks if their photos on social media damaged the relationship. The truth comes out, but he denies it. He did it because he no longer feels anything for her. Is it true? The drama continues, so Hyun Doo asks Yumin not to blame herself, and suddenly says they should continue with the plan. According to him, the agreed 2 months have not yet ended, and Yumin has not yet decided everything for herself. Hyun Doo promises to help her understand everything, secretly hoping that the girl will make the same decision as him. She is surprised that he is willing to keep enduring all this, but Hyun Doo affirms that for him, it is just a friendship. If Yumin is worried about this, she can tell everyone that she is promoting her cafe. The friends, who had returned to the table, upon seeing them chatting, decide to keep walking to leave them alone. The protagonist asks how Tae-jun posting a photo of the chef on the local page affected the cafe's work. According to Hyun Doo, he regrets that decision, since besides increasing the number of customers, it also increased the pressure on his patients. Yumin imagines that the boy will become famous, and they will invite him to television shows. And she asks him not to forget her when that happens. Hyun Doo suddenly becomes very nervous and says that will never happen, and if that worries her, he won't accept. Frightened by the boy's reaction, Yumin tries to convince him that, perhaps, he misunderstood her. She only wanted to ask him that, when he became famous, he wouldn't forget to take her to the pinnacle of glory too. Realizing that he misinterpreted the girl, Hyun-do calms down, but continues to look at her strangely. Not understanding why he looks at her like that, Yoo-min worries about seeming materialistic in his eyes. After dinner, everyone says goodbye, and Tae-joon suggests meeting again before they get immersed in work. Wishing each other a safe trip, the couples say goodbye and separate in different directions. Hyun-do takes the autograph from Yoo-min, offering to hold it for a while, and she jokes that she is going to steal it. Jae-hee watches what is happening over her shoulder, surprised. She looks at the smile with which Hyun-do is teasing Yoo-min. And just then, the girl realizes with what eyes this boy looks at her friend. Seo-young is in a cafe, drinking tea and waiting for the person she invited. Kim Jae-si-han timidly enters the room and greets the actress. Upon learning that the boy she recently met is Ha Jae-young's brother, So-young recounts with a smile how they ran into each other. The girl was surprised that her brother didn't tell her anything in today's conversation. But the actress explained that she asked him to. Upon hearing this, Ha Kyung hurried to assure So-young not to worry, since Kim Jae-seon always keeps his word. And while recounting that her brother has absolutely no interest in celebrities, So-young was no longer listening to her. She suddenly understood that this man is Yoo-min's ex-boyfriend, and it is very unlikely that everything is a coincidence. Turning to Hyojing, she begged the girl to help her reunite with her brother. And now, the actress is sitting opposite Kim Jae-seong, stating that she wanted to apologize in person for that incident. Furthermore, she felt that, although she asked for an autograph, he is not really her fan. Kim Jae-seong freezes when Seo-jeong asks if the autograph was for Yoo-min. To the question of how she knows Yoo-min, the actress replies that Ha Jeong introduced them, and sometimes they go out together. Seo-jeong is sure that the girl didn't say they knew each other, since she asked her to. According to the actress, in addition to all that, she also knows that Yoo-min and he dated. If she had known they had so much in common, she wouldn't have limited herself to a simple autograph. Therefore, Seo-young hands Jae-seon an envelope with money for the dry cleaner and tickets for a musical. However, the man states that the autograph was enough and that it is not necessary. In that case, Seo-young asks him to at least keep the tickets to go to the musical with Yoo-min. She surely loves it. Kim Jae-seon doesn't understand why the actress wasted her time meeting him if she is already so close to Yoo-min. Seo-young says that she sees how Kim, even after the breakup, worries about his ex-girlfriend, and he even got an autograph for her. That's why she wants to help them rebuild their relationship, because it will be good for everyone. Deep down, Seo-young knows this will be good for everyone, except Hyun-do. Kim Jae-seon thanks the actress, but begs her not to meddle further in his relationship with Yoo-min. According to Seo-young, Yoo-min is a bright and entrepreneurial girl who does not hide her emotions, and she is always honest. And if even she was delighted with the girl, imagine how attractive men find her. That's why Seo-jeong is sure that if Kim Jae-seon lets this pass, he will regret it. Just like it happened to her, the man thanks her for the advice and prepares to leave. Since he didn't take the tickets, Seo-jeong plans to give them to Yoo-min. She hopes that when the girl calls Kim Jae-seon and suggests keeping her company, he accepts, and they have a good time together. The next day, the protagonist heads to a business meeting to expand her company. When she returns exhausted to the office, her colleagues invite her to try the dessert on her desk. The girls are excited about Song Jae-hee's boyfriend, who sent each of them a box of that delicious dessert. And although Yoo-min instantly recognizes those little cakes that Hyun-do treated her with, she pretends it's the first time she's seen them. Observing her reaction, Jae-hee thinks that each of them evidently has a story related to that dessert. She tries to figure out when all this started, because even Tae-joon seems completely oblivious. Consumed by the curiosity to know what is happening between that couple, Jae-hee suggests to Yoo-min that they go for a nap today. The protagonist accepts, but just then, she receives a call from Ha Jeong. According to the girl, she is near Yoo-min's office, as Seo-young asked her to deliver something. Jae-hee is surprised that her friend is still in contact with Kim Jae-seon's sister, since she thought she had broken ties with his family after the breakup. Upon leaving the office, Ha Jeong hands her musical tickets and an attached note from Seo-young. That same night, Tae-ji-yoon laments the lack of customers, despite the boom after Hyun-do's photo. But his friend doesn't see the connection between the photo of an unknown chef and the sudden avalanche of customers. Upon hearing this, Tae-joon racks his brain thinking how to convince Hyun-do to pose for more photos. Just then, Kim Jae-seon enters the cafe and is accompanied by a friend. He couldn't notify earlier because he finished work early and decided to stop by as a surprise. Jae-seon's friend, Choi Chang-gu, knows Hyun-do and apologizes for seeing him drunk that day. Tae-jun also knows Hyun-do's friends. He had never seen them there before. He himself goes to the kitchen discreetly to give them some privacy so they can chat. Choi Chang-gu is full after the delicious meal, but Hyun-do insists that he try the dessert. He says that even though they are not on the menu, from time to time, he gets motivated to prepare these delights. While Chanu admires the chef's culinary and pastry talent, the latter tries to find out where Kim In-seon went. It turns out the man was on the phone, and as soon as he returns, Choi Chanu offers him to try the dessert. In-seon likes the sweet so much that he advises Hyun-do to start selling it. The day they met near the house, he was carrying a bag from the pastry shop, and Kim thought he was fond of sweets. Ashamed and looking down, Hyun-do confesses that it was that day he fell in love with desserts. Meanwhile, Kim Lee-seon, looking at the cake, thinks that Yoo-min would surely love it. When Hyun-do returns to the kitchen, Choi Chan-woo reproaches him for leaving them hanging to talk on the phone. To the question of whether it was a work call, Kim H-seon replies no and suddenly utters Yoo-min's name. Upon hearing that, Hyun-do freezes and turns around. Meanwhile, Kim In-seon tells his friend that he was the one who contacted her first recently. Just then, Hyun-do appears next to their table and, apologizing for interrupting them, asks who they were talking about. Returning home at night, after work, Yoo-min sits at the table for a long time, rereading So-young's note over and over again. In it, the actress writes that she needs those 2 tickets much more than her, and advises her to invite her ex-boyfriend to the musical. The protagonist doesn't understand. Did So-young give her the impression of being a fool who can't forget her boyfriend? Besides, this gift is too overwhelming for Yoo-min. She is also worried that the musical is this week. At least, she has time to call Kim Lee-seon, and this is precisely why she didn't go for a nap today. If he refuses, Yoo-min thinks of suggesting Hyun-do accompany her, but then remembers that he works on Saturdays. When Kim In-seon answers the phone, the girl can't muster enough courage to invite him. So she says that she met Ha-jeong today and thought the 3 of them could have lunch together sometime. But when Lee-seon suggests meeting on Saturday, Yoo-min refuses, explaining that she is going to a musical that day. The man instantly catches which musical they are talking about. But when he asks who Yoo-min will go with, she says she doesn't know yet. The protagonist thinks it's hard for her to invite Lee-seon because she doesn't know if he is dating someone. But suddenly, he himself suggests that they go to the musical together. Words escape Yoo-min's mouth, and she asks if he has a girlfriend. According to Kim Lee-seon, if he had someone, he wouldn't have proposed this. But she remembers telling a drunk colleague that she was dating someone. Did she lie, or have they already broken up? After agreeing to talk later about the time and place, Yoo-min hangs up, not knowing whether to be happy or not. The protagonist never thought Lee-seon would want her back, and this should make her happy, because this outcome is the best she could have hoped for. Truth be told, and Yoo-min doesn't understand at all why. In that case, this doesn't make her happy at all now. Perhaps it would be easier for her if Hyun-do also fared well with his ex. However, unlike her, he has already resolved his relationships and made it clear that he is single. The protagonist lies on the sofa and closes her eyes, refusing to keep dwelling on it after an already difficult day. Kim Jae-hyun looks at Hyun-do with surprise and replies that he was talking about his ex-girlfriend, Yoo-min. Looking at him with wide eyes, Hyun-do says he also knows a girl with that name. They are distracted from this strange dialogue by a sudden burst of laughter from Choi Chang-gu. According to the boy, he also knows several girls with that name, and the boss asked with such a face that he even got scared, realizing how ridiculous he looked. Hyun-do apologizes for having meddled in their conversation so brazenly. However, he doesn't move away from the table for a while, closely studying the man who perfectly matches Yoo-min's description. He asks Kim Jae-seon what his ex-girlfriend is doing, but Tae-jun calls him from the kitchen. His friend asks him to hurry up because more customers have arrived and he needs the chef's help. Without getting an answer to his question, Hyun-do has to leave for work. Saturday arrives, and our protagonist heads to meet Kim Jae-seon. Since they still have time before the musical, he suggests taking a short walk. Yoo-min hopes this meeting will reveal whether they can be together again, but she hesitates whether to call it a date. As they walk, She wonders if everyone finds being with their ex after a breakup so awkward. Sitting next to Kim Jae-seon in the theater, Yoo-min realizes that spending time with him is not as pleasant as she expected. And from Jae-seon's own attitude, it seems that only she is feeling this. The protagonist realizes that next to him, she is trying to calculate her every move. When Yoo-min goes to the bathroom to cool off, she feels exhausted after so much thinking. The young woman tries to remember what she was thinking about before, when they met. During all this time with Jae-seong, she has felt like a ghost, observing from the outside. Looking at him, Yoo-min wonders if she really wants to get back with him, or if she just needs to see that he wants it. Whether they are together or not, the protagonist needs to ask Jae-seong about that call. Although, on the other hand, what is the point of asking? It won't change the fact that he said it. Noticing the paleness on her face, Kim Jae-sung caresses her cheek and offers to buy her medicine. She insists that she is fine, but he touches her forehead and notices that Yoo-min is burning up. Turning her back on Jae-seong, the young woman repeats once again that nothing hurts. Turning her back on Jae-seong, she attributes everything to work fatigue, and he apologizes. Yoo-min asks him to remind her what they were talking about. According to Kim Jae-seong, he asked her to visit his father together, but now, so as not to be a burden. He asks her to forget it and visit him when it suits her. The protagonist hasn't seen the professor in a long time, so she promises to do so. Kim Jae-seong offers to drive Yoo-min, and she heads to the parking lot while he stares at his palm, the one that just touched her cheek. Upon returning home, the protagonist collapses on the bed without changing. She feels emotionally exhausted and wonders if it will always be like this now. At that moment, Yoo-min sees that Hyun-do has texted her and replies that she hadn't seen his message because she was with her ex. The next morning, she discovers that he hasn't replied, even though he read her message. While having breakfast, she justifies it by thinking it was very late and she didn't want to bother her. However, more time passes, and the girl receives no reply, even though she knows he usually wakes up early. When the phone rings, Yoo-min expects a message from Hyun-do, but it is her mother telling her that she injured her leg, and she is in the hospital. Dressing in a hurry, the protagonist tries to call her mother, but inexplicably her phone is off. When Yoo-min runs out of the apartment, the phone rings, and she, thinking she is talking to her mother, asks worriedly how it happened and how she is now. But the girl is surprised to hear Hyun-do's voice on the other end of the line. She explains that she received a message that her mother is in the emergency room. Yoo-min asks him to call her later because she needs to call a taxi, as she lent her car to a friend yesterday. However, Hyun-do replies that he will immediately go to take her to the hospital. A few minutes later, his car is already in front of her house, and the protagonist is surprised by his speed. Upon getting into the car, she thanks Hyun-do for his help, but he thinks there is nothing to be thankful for. On the way, Yoo-min recounts that her mother wrote about the injury, but she doesn't know anything else because she isn't answering the phone. Hyun-do thinks she shouldn't worry so much, because if it were serious, her mother wouldn't be able to text her. The protagonist agrees and then asks him why he called her. Hyun-do replies that he called because she didn't answer him last night, and today he is free, he wanted to see her. Yoo-min is indignant that he deliberately ignored her message. Although she calms down later, as she doesn't have to reply to him every time, nor did she really expect his reply. After a brief silence, Hyun-do looks at her and asks how things went with her ex. Without turning around, Yoo-min replies that they only saw a musical and had dinner together. Clenching the steering wheel tightly, Hyun-do asks if she felt butterflies in her stomach. However, the girl replies that she felt tired from thinking so much. Yoo-min is embarrassed to talk about it, so she tries to change the subject. Upon arriving at the hospital, the protagonist sees her mother in the waiting room with a plastered leg. Turning to her daughter, the woman grumbles that apparently she had to end up in the emergency room for her to visit her. She knew Yoo-min would panic like now, and that's why she didn't answer her calls. According to Miyukiwa, she wanted to bring homemade food to her daughter, and, stumbling on the subway, she sprained her ankle. She knew Yoo-min was too busy to come herself, and now all the food had to be thrown away. Since Hyun-do didn't have a chance to introduce himself, the woman asks her daughter who the guy behind her is. The protagonist introduces them and tells her mother that Hyun-do is her friend, who not only brought her upon hearing what happened, but also promised to take her home. The woman smiles and says she didn't know Yoo-min had such a handsome friend. The protagonist suggests going home, and Hyun-do takes the heavy bag from her. Miu examines her daughter's gallant friend with an appraising look. Upon finally arriving home, she asks Yumin to throw away all the food in the bag, wash the containers, and take out more delicious things from the refrigerator for him. The protagonist quietly thanks Hyun-do and tells him he can leave now, but he insists on staying to help. He promises it won't take long, as he is good at everything related to cooking. Yumin knows this, but thought he would want to rest at home on his day off. Seeing how agile Hyun-do is in the kitchen, Miu asks him if he is a chef by chance, and he replies that he owns a restaurant. Trying to stop this interrogation, the protagonist runs to her mother and suggests she go rest in her room. Because, on the way home, Miu had bombarded Hyun-do with questions like how tall is he? And how old is he? However, the woman pushes her daughter aside and orders her not to interfere when her mother is talking. Then she asks Hyun-do if he lives alone, if he is dating someone, and what he thinks of Yumin, greatly embarrassing the girl. Realizing she crossed the line, the woman apologizes to the young man for her excessive curiosity. Although the heroine is very uncomfortable, Hyun-do seems completely calm and understands the situation. Having finished their business, they prepare to leave, and Hyun-do thanks Maiju for the food she kindly gave not only to her daughter, but also to him. As a thank you for the help, she also offers him to come to her salon to get a haircut sometime, and Hyun-do invites the woman to visit his restaurant and promises to prepare something delicious for her. And Yumin, the heroine, understands why her mother acts this way, but worries that she has misunderstood everything. However, it seems that Hyun-do is not bothered by this at all. Observing their conversation, the girl is surprised by how talkative he can be. Hyun-do takes Yumin home and offers to carry the bag, as it is very heavy. Standing by the door, the heroine thanks him once again for his help, feeling awkward about bothering him on his day off. However, Hyun-do confesses that he wanted to do it for her and that he was glad he could help. And now he suggests the girl rest, because the last 2 days were tough. Yumin smiles, although she doesn't actually feel that tired today. Truth be told, she tries to take the bag from Hyun-do, but for some reason he doesn't let go. After a moment like this, the protagonist asks him if he feels like having a cup of coffee. Shortly after, they are sitting in Yumin's apartment, drinking coffee in silence. The girl doesn't understand why there is so much tension between them, as it's not the first time they've been together. She already regrets offering him coffee instead of lunch at another time. Hyun-do drinks his coffee quite quickly, and Yumin gets up to wash the cup. While she is washing the dishes, the man asks if he can take a look at her apartment. Since he couldn't last time, the house is quite clean today, but Yumin complains that she can't keep things tidy because of work. Hyundo says he cleans a bit in the morning and in the evening, and she laughs. She knows he says that because he can't check. So the man leans over her and suggests she come visit him sometime. How many times has she accompanied him home, and it never occurred to him to invite her up. Upon hearing that, the protagonist starts scrubbing the cup so hard that her sweatshirt sleeves get wet. Hyundo notices and carefully rolls up her sleeve. Then, too closely, he adds that he lives on the 5th floor, in apartment 502. During a break from filming, So-young checks her phone, no news from Yumin. She wonders if they went to the musical and how it went. It's obvious that Kim Jae-sehung still has feelings for his ex. The actress wants Yumin to get back with her ex and stop harassing Hyun-do. The manager approaches So-young, indignant about the trouble Chief Maesung has caused. This time, actress Erin was supposed to go on that show, but the chef went on a trip abroad. The manager feels sorry for the filming crew, who now urgently need a new chef. And at that moment, So-jong realizes she can recommend someone to replace him. The next day, one of the cooking show managers arrives for a nap. Upon learning about the problem, Tae-jin excitedly calls the chef to tell him the incredible news. Upon leaving the kitchen, Hyun-do learns that he is being invited on television. Before closing the cafe, the friends discuss how the show could have found out about the chef. According to Tae-jun, they might have seen his photo on social media, or Seong-gu might have recommended him. But overall, that doesn't matter. What matters is that the chef received that offer. And there is nothing to think about. Hyun-do remembers Yumin's words that small businesses like his must seize any opportunity. Tae-jun begs the boss to accept. He needs to save up for the wedding. Upon learning that Hyundo, who previously refused even to post photos, accepted the offer, his friend runs to hug him. On the day of filming, the boss arrives at the studio early, and while waiting, he chats with Yumin. Hyundo begs her to talk to him to calm his nerves. And she, although she knows he is lying, insists. Yumin doesn't refuse to chat. But she has an important meeting, about which she promises to tell him later. The door opens, and other chefs participating in the show enter the waiting room. One of them whispers to the other that this chef is replacing Kim Ma-sun, but he didn't study abroad. When Hyun-do gets up to greet them, the men are initially startled by his height and his stern appearance, but the conversation becomes friendly, and the chefs advise the boss not to worry. Then they comment that Hyun-do was obviously hired for his looks, not his talent. That's how TV works. They say anyone thinks they are a chef now, so they have to put up with the rookie until the detestable Mason returns. As he hands Hyun-do the uniform, the studio manager overhears their conversation, and he thinks why everyone acts like children. He doesn't understand why everyone treats the person who came to lend a hand like that. Although, on the other hand, it's none of his business, and the chef himself doesn't seem to care much. Hyun-do completely ignores everything, absorbed in his thoughts about when he can see Yumin. The recording begins, and the host asks the audience to welcome the new temporary chef. Immediately after, he announces today's special guests. It's the rising star Erin Shin and the famous actress Seo Young, who kept her promise to return to the studio. Upon seeing the girl, Hyun-do understands that it cannot be a coincidence and that she was the one who orchestrated his invitation to film. He absolutely did not expect Seo Young to do this, to coincide with him on a show, and he tries to understand why she is doing it. In the past, his biggest fear was being caught together somewhere. Hyun-do decides to ignore it, as Seo Young would not do anything in public. According to the show's rules, each guest must choose a chef to help them in the culinary contest. Seo Young, walking past each cook, finally chooses Hyun-do. With a big smile, she expresses her hope that she and the chef will make a good team. Meanwhile, Yumin finishes a business meeting and thanks her colleagues for their willingness to help her develop the brand. After agreeing on the collaboration and saying goodbye, the protagonist and her friend enter the elevator. When the doors close, Yumin cannot contain her positive emotions about the meeting. Unlike Jae-hee, she doubts that this contract was a good idea, although now she understands why everyone wants to work with large companies. Despite everything, Yumin has a good feeling and feels relieved that everything is finally working out. Jae-hee doesn't doubt it. She knows that this also affects her friend's personal life. And although Yumin denies it, it doesn't escape her notice how she and Hyun-do look at each other. The protagonist confesses that lately they are secretly friends, and Jae-hee doesn't understand why she should hide it. Tae-jeon texted her that on today's show, besides Hyun-do, Seo Young will be there, and she tells Yumin about it. The protagonist is surprised, as the actress recently participated in this cooking show. After thinking for a moment, Jae-hee remembers that Seo Young had dinner at Siesta with her friends. She remembers with what enthusiasm and boasting Tae-jeon told her about it. An idea strikes the girl so funny that she can't help but burst out laughing. Maybe when Seo Young saw Hyun-do in the restaurant, she fell in love and arranged this filming on purpose. Upon hearing this, Yumin seriously asks her friend not to even joke about it. Such a reaction surprised not only Jae-hee, but the heroine herself, who doesn't understand what's wrong with her. To save face, she tells her friend that gossiping is simply unseemly, and that everything must be a coincidence. And although the girl thought she was defending both her friends, she didn't even realize how much it affected her. The friend apologizes for blurting it out without thinking, and Yumin apologizes for her overly exaggerated reaction to it. Passing a billboard with Seo Young's image, she decides to ask Jae-hee one more thing. Yumin is intrigued if it doesn't seem strange to her that, in addition to Hyun-do, she also has a secret friend. According to Jae-hee, if this girl is not a secret agent or spy, then it is quite strange. The heroine understands that Seo Young is trying to be cautious, as she is a public figure. Maybe she herself doesn't understand it, since she isn't famous. And yet, something in all this disturbs Yumin. She asks if there is anyone shocking among her secret friends. But the heroine replies no, although her friend doesn't quite believe her. Meanwhile, the competition has already begun in the studio. Hyun-do coldly gives So Chang instructions on what to do and in what order. Surprised by his indifferent tone, the actress drops a potato and stoops to pick it up. But as she stands up, she hits her head on a board from which a knife falls, passing right in front of her face. Hyun-do reacts at lightning speed and hugs the girl, who clutches the area of impact. Filming is temporarily suspended to ensure the actress is okay. Seo Chang apologizes to the producer for her clumsiness. The man sees no problem with it, since the main thing is that no one got hurt. The producer praises Hyun-do for his quick reaction, but the chef sees nothing special in it. He reacted that way only because he was nearby. Hyun-do looks coldly at the actress, turns toward the desk, and the producer announces the continuation of filming. When the show ends and the chef is leaving, Seo-young approaches him. She forgot to thank him and comes to make up for it, but Hyun-do advises her to be more careful. Seo-young swears she didn't do it on purpose and begs him to believe her. Hyun-do replies that he believes her and adds that he would defend anyone like that, although Seo-young always liked that about him. Now it hurts to hear it, but she says she knows because she is no longer naive. Other chefs from the show attentively watch their conversation from a distance. They are surprised that Seo-young is flirting with a guy who looks like a mafioso. According to them, it's no wonder there were rumors that she achieved fame by sleeping with people. Meanwhile, Seo-young's manager asks to cut the failed episode, and the producer gladly agrees because the actress is visiting them for the second time. However, that night television broadcasts shocking news about how the chef did not hesitate to save the actress. The video, as if taken from a romance movie, went viral on the internet extremely fast. As a result, Hyun-do's account on social network X exploded with followers. The protagonist watches how his popularity skyrockets overnight. It seems strange to Yoo-min, as she didn't even like having her picture taken before. Maybe they see each other so often that she is starting to forget what he was like before. At that moment, a guy who smells of alcohol approaches and asks if she has a boyfriend. Yoo-min replies that she is waiting for her husband, and the stranger returns to his friends. They think the girl lied to reject him and decide to stay nearby to see what happens. Yoo-min is already about to leave, when suddenly she hears Hyun-do's voice behind her. He jokes that he doesn't really like the idea of spending the night with her husband. Startled, Yoo-min asks how long he has been there, and Hyun-do replies that he came right after closing the restaurant. He thanks her for waiting for him, worried that she might have frozen and that he should have waited for her in the cafe. Besides, at this time of night, the street is quite dangerous. He throws a stern look at the guys, who, seeing that the girl's husband really arrived, hurry to flee from there. Yoo-min is curious to know how Hyun-do feels about being popular, and if it puts pressure on him in any way. The man confesses that the only thing he was worried about was what she would think when she saw that. The protagonist blushes upon learning that he wanted to hear her opinion directly from her. Turning around to hide her embarrassment, Yoo-min replies that it was great, and that she could never have done the same. However, according to Hyun-do, you can never know that in advance, because sometimes one does things without thinking. He is sure that if Yoo-min were in a similar situation, she would have behaved exactly the same. The protagonist, walking up the stairs, stops dead and looks Hyun-do in the face. Before he can react, she takes him by the shoulders and kisses him on the lips. Perhaps, instinctively, the protagonist felt that in this man's arms she would be safe from everything. Despite his apparent coldness, he always supported and comforted her. Even if he did it clumsily, she knew he would always come to her aid. And even though she had only known Hyun-do for a short time, she could assure that he was a great person. He was an attentive and loyal friend and a kind neighbor. And Hyun-do would never hurt her, as Yishin did in the past. Yoo-min was the first to realize how wonderful he was, and no one on social media will ever know how warm and deep his gaze can be. After the kiss, Hyun-do and Yoo-min look into each other's eyes in silence for a moment. Suddenly, the girl turns, and he, without letting go of her hand, asks her to explain what all that meant. Sitting on a step and without looking at him, Yoo-min apologizes for that outburst. But Hyun-do doesn't apologize and asks her if she regrets the kiss. The protagonist lowers her head to her knees and says nothing. Sitting next to her, Hyun-do says he doesn't know what to do if she regrets it. He brushes the hair off the girl's face, who finally admits that it is not so, and that she only feels uncomfortable. According to Hyun-do, if it's about having done it in public, she shouldn't worry because it's dark, and it's unlikely that anyone saw them. Yoo-min asks him to stop talking about the kiss, and he, in response, asks her to stop hiding her face, because he is the one who was kissed, not her. The girl confesses that she is. The heroine is amazed at how he manages to say such nonsense in such a romantic way. Yoo-min explains that she apologized because her kiss was not pure, but selfish and petty. The protagonist doubted her feelings and wanted to know if he felt the same for her, so she acted impulsively, without truly understanding what she desired. And instead of being excited about the kiss, Yoo-min was furious about her irresponsibility. Maybe now he sees her as superficial, since, despite her age, she behaved like a teenager. However, observing Yoo-min at that moment, Hyun-do also understood something. Maybe his intentions were not pure, but she was still an innocent girl. Affection is not always clear and pure. That's why people often retract when expressing their feelings. It was so innocent of Yoo-min to be indignant about her own impure thoughts. But if this girl decides to be with him, he would love to know every facet of her. In reality, Hyun-do longs to know absolutely everything about her, because he himself is a person whose motives are not entirely pure. Turning to her, Young-do confesses that her selfishness pleases him. And, as he already said, he likes any action of Yoo-min towards him. No matter what happens, whatever she does, he is willing to accept it without hesitation. Upon hearing this, the protagonist turns around again, stubbornly hiding her face. She doesn't understand how, after those words, not to fall madly in love. Suddenly remembering something, she turns around and casts a look at Hyun-do. She knows how loyal and self-sacrificing he is when it comes to love. He is willing to give everything for the person he loves. And in return, he only needs love and support. But precisely because of this, Hyun-do's last relationship ended. Yoo-min confesses to him that she wants to definitively break up with her ex before starting something new. She promises it won't take long and asks Hyun-do if he will wait for her. Smiling, the man promises to wait for her without fail and rest his head on her shoulder. The next day, all the colleagues notice an unusual enthusiasm in Yoo-min. They whisper about the possible reason for her good mood, believing it's due to a new contract. Sun Yoon-ha, from the WBBM Fashion Corporation, enters the office. The young woman greets those present and informs them that, starting today, she will work with them. Sun Yoon knows the general director of the company, Yoo-min, and thanks her for her trust. And although the protagonist expects to learn a lot from her, the young woman repeats that she is there to collaborate. Sun Yoon sets out to meet her new colleagues, and her enthusiasm pleases Yoo-min. She was worried if the newcomer would fit in. But wow, it seems everything is running smoothly. The protagonist feels inspired to start anew, both in business and in love. But to start a new life, one must first get rid of the ballast of the past. 6 years of relationship left many things in Yoo-min's house, and some must go back to Lee Seon, or go to the trash. Among all those things, the protagonist finds envelopes with old photos. She feels bad throwing away other people's photos, so she decides to give them to Ha-jeong. Seeing the professor's photos, she recalls his words. He treats everyone like his own children. Yoo-min feels a little uncomfortable having to do this. What a situation, but she is determined to start over and can no longer avoid the inevitable. Meanwhile, Hyun-do is waiting for the elevator. And just then, Kim Jae-si-han and his friend enter the building. Choi Chang-gu tells everyone that he saw how the chef became famous and now boasts about knowing him. Upon learning that Hyun-do is doing nothing, he suggests they join him and Jae-si-han, who were about to order takeout. Kim Jae-seon is just placing the order and asks the boy what he feels like. Thinking for a moment, Hyun-do surprises his companions by proposing to prepare dinner himself. While Choi marvels at the chef's splendid dinner, Jae-seon apologizes for making the chef cook. Hyun-do affirms that it cost him nothing to prepare what he had in the fridge. Pouring soju into the glasses, the friends toast in thanks to the chef. Choi Chang-gu asks how these two became friends, and hopes to become friends with Hyun-do too. Later, when the boy goes to the bathroom, Jae-seon asks how that kitten they rescued is doing. Hyun-do offers to show him the photos and extends his phone. While Kim Jae-seon admires the kitten, he steps away for a moment into the kitchen. Suddenly, a message from Yoo-min arrives on the phone, and the boy freezes upon seeing her name on the screen. When Hyun-do returns, Jae-seon gives the mobile back, stating that he is very happy about the kitten. He is about to ask the boy about that message when the phone suddenly rings. Hyun-do apologizes and asks for a minute to answer. Stepping into another room, the man cannot remember whose number this is, but decides to answer anyway. On the other end of the line, a female voice is heard, introducing herself as So-young's mother. The woman is glad that Hyun-do hasn't changed his number, as several years have passed since they last spoke. To the question of why she is calling, the woman replies that he is still rude. Does she need a reason to call her beloved son-in-law? With his hands on his head, Hyun-do remembers that she only called when she needed something. He asks her not to call him anymore, as he and So-young have ended their relationship. Despite this, the woman demands an explanation for why they are both lying to her. She stopped calling Hyun-do after the breakup told by So-young, but seeing them together on television disconcerted her. Hyun-do replies dryly that he has no idea what she is talking about and that, whatever it is, she has misinterpreted everything. He begs her not to call that number again and hangs up, with no desire to continue the conversation. Turning off the phone, Hyun-do sighs deeply and remains alone in the room for a while, lost in thought. Meanwhile, Choi Jong-woo returns from the bathroom, wondering why Jae-seon is drinking alone. Upon learning that Hyun-do is on the phone, he suddenly notices that something is wrong with his friend's face. When the boss returns, Choi asks if he was talking to his girlfriend, and when Hyun-do replies that he doesn't have a girlfriend, he finds it strange why he then went to another room. And Jae-seon asks if he spoke with the person he is working on a project with, and Hyun-do, amazed by his memory, replies that they got the wrong number. Then Jae-seon asks if they are still friends with that person, and only Choi is sitting, not understanding what they are talking about. The memory of his kiss with Yoo-min appears in Hyun-do's mind. Without hiding a smile, he admits that from now on he cannot call her his friend. To the question of why Jae-seon is so interested, he replies that shortly before the call, while looking at photos, he received a message. Choi complains that everyone has a girlfriend now, except him. But Hyun-do no longer hears anything, texting with Yoo-min. She says she was cleaning the apartment, but she got tired and went to bed. And he writes that he is drinking at home with friends. After sending the message, Hyun-do asks if Jae-seon is dating someone, and Choi replies that he is close to getting his ex back. And while Jae-seon recounts that it's not exactly as he expected, Hyun-do lowers his head to the phone again. Yoo-min is jealous. She prepared dinner for her friends, and he writes that he will prepare it even better. She just has to come. He already knows where she lives. The girl states with complete certainty that she is not the type to fall for food. Hyun-do, realizing that he got distracted and must say something, turns to Jae-seon and tells him he is glad it went well for him. According to Kim, everything was thanks to the advice he and Chung gave him, so he promises to introduce them to his ex when they return. 6 years ago, Yoo-min went to the professor, who found out about her relationship with his son, and apologized for not saying so sooner. The man didn't understand why he seemed guilty if he hadn't done anything wrong. What was going on? It was just then that he said he considered all his students as his own children, and all he wants, deep down, is for his children to be happy. That's all. Smiling, Yoo-min said she could call him dad, officially, if she and Jae-sun got married. What a moment. And now, 6 years later, the protagonist is standing in front of the door of that yard, gathering courage to enter. Upon opening the door, the professor greets the girl happily and invites her in. Yoo-min apologizes to Mr. Kim for taking so long to come visit him. She wanted to do it sooner, but simply couldn't find the courage to do it. The man looks at the girl with a gaze full of love and paternal care. Patting her on the shoulder, Kim thanks Yoo-min for finally coming, as he is very happy to see her. The professor takes the girl, who won't stop crying, into the house and sits her on the sofa, hoping that she finally calms down. In his opinion, she shouldn't cry at all, because now with swollen eyes, she looks like an alien. However, Yoo-min confesses that she couldn't hold back tears upon seeing him, and finally asks how he is. Knowing that he is fine, the protagonist tells him about her business, and that Ha Jae-young also wanted to come. But she refused. The girl promises that next time, along with her friend, they will invite Mr. Kim to an excellent restaurant. The professor is amazed at how Yoo-min, who always has something to tell him, could disappear for so long. He opines that it is normal for couples to break up, and that she shouldn't feel awkward about it. Mr. Kim asks if Jae-seon was to blame for their separation. Even if he is his son, he must admit that sometimes he can be irritating. Since the girl doesn't answer, Mr. Kim decides to change the subject and offers her to stay for dinner. Yoo-min accepts, and the professor, refusing her help and advising her to rest, goes to the kitchen. The protagonist hears the front door open and assumes Ha Jae-young finally came. Yoo-min runs anxiously to the door, not hearing Mr. Kim say that his daughter works late today. The girl opens it and suddenly freezes upon seeing Kim Jae-seon at the door. A little later, the three of them eat dinner in complete silence, and in the dining room, only the sound of chopsticks against plates can be heard. A tense silence is broken when Mr. Kim asks why his son brought his guest so suddenly, and he replies that Ha Jae-yeon said she wasn't feeling well. The father understands that his daughter must have done it on purpose to set up her brother with Yumin. Taking advantage of his daughter's brilliant idea, Kim asks his son to drive the girl home after dinner. Since he came without a car, the protagonist replies that she will go by bus, but Jae-seon reminds her that buses don't run on weekends. The young woman realizes that refusing the offer would be suspicious, and therefore, she accepts. When dinner is over, Mr. Kim escorts the guest to the door, and she promises to call him more often upon saying goodbye. On the way, Jae-seon thanks Yoo-min for visiting his father, but she insists that it gave her great joy to do so. The man asks how her business is going, and the girl tells him that she has signed a contract with a large company. Jae-seon is sure that Yoo-min will succeed, and she herself has no doubt about it. They drive in silence for a while, until finally he musters the courage to ask the key question that torments him. Looking at her, Jae-seon asks if she is dating someone now. Yoo-min replies no, but adds that she is interested in someone. According to her, he is a good person, and she wants to get to know him better and date him. Yoo-min hopes that Jae-seon will also find a good girl. He replies that he already found one, but unfortunately they broke up. She confesses that she wanted to hurt him, but failed, since he still considers her good. In his opinion, it is simply impossible to be mean in Jae-seon's eyes. Although he doesn't understand what she's talking about, Yoo-min asks him not to worry and says she is tired, and she wants to sleep. Upon arriving home, the protagonist thanks Jae-seon for the ride and prepares to leave, but he asks her to stay. He wants to know if she broke up with him to hurt him, and what he did wrong when they were together. Yoo-min stops and asks him to allow her to ask him a question. If Jae-seon wanted to thank her, he could simply date and break up. Why did he cheat on her? She herself heard him say that he never loved her, and now there is no point in denying it. He told someone on the phone that he was only marrying her to pay a debt. Yoo-min doesn't know if he ever desired her, if he felt he would die without her, or if her feelings for him mattered. She confesses that she thought she would feel better if he wanted her back, but now that it has happened, it confuses her even more. Yoo-min wants to know why he is doing this if he doesn't love her, and if he is doing it now because she is an easy target. Taking a step towards the girl, Jae-seon confesses that he never thought that. He regrets that she had to hear that, as he didn't want to hurt her. And if he doesn't feel attraction to Yoo-min, it doesn't mean he doesn't care. When they are together, he experiences emotional stability. He wants Yoo-min to be happy and longs to be by her side. Looking her in the eyes, he wonders what this is if it's not love. In his opinion, romantic attraction is not the only way to love. When Kim Jae-seon was 17, he had a revealing conversation with a friend. Another girl had come to his school to declare her love. However, Kim Jae-seon didn't understand how to date someone without feeling attraction. He never had trouble making friends, but he never felt anything romantic for anyone. Jae-han suggested his friend was a sociopath, but Jae-seon suffered from not understanding what was happening to him. Chanwoo asked him if he was impotent, but the boy also ruled out that option, since he was fine in that regard too. In that case, his friend only had two assumptions about it. Either Lisun hadn't found his soulmate yet, or he was simply born that way. Since some people are attracted to women, some, like him, to both sexes, and some, obviously, to no one. In Chanwoo's opinion, the best thing for Lisun would be to accept it and resign himself. Only as he grew up did the boy understand what his friend said and stop worrying about relationships. He used to consider himself abnormal, but then he realized he was simply different from the accepted norm. Lee Sung decided he would start dating when the time came to get married. It was like that until he met Yoo-min. She was his father's student and a very kind person who showed sympathy towards him. There were many girls like that, and Lee Sung ignored her until she saved his father. She tried so hard for his family that he was deeply impressed by her loyalty. And then he understood that if the love of his life was a person, she would look like this. That's why Lee Seung decided to repay Yoo-min's kindness by reciprocating her feelings. He knew he could never love her as much as she wanted to be loved, but he promised himself to be the best for her and do everything possible for her. Lee Seung had no doubt that Yoo-min understood that he started a relationship with her out of pity and gratitude, but little by little, the girl's love began to touch his heart. And even if his feelings were different from what she desired, for him it was also love. He was happy with her, and that meant yes, it was love. Jisun knows it's complicated to understand, but he doesn't know how to explain it better. However, he is sure that he loves her, and he says it with complete honesty. When Jisun said he wanted to repay her, it wasn't just for helping his family. In reality, he meant that for him, it was an opportunity to be with her forever. Upon hearing this, the protagonist shudders with rage. He should have said everything from the beginning. He was obliged to confess that he is incapable of feeling romantic feelings. Jisun apologizes for being so selfish. He extends his hand to Yumin and begs her to give him another chance. Perhaps his way of loving is not enough, but he has always been sincere with her. The protagonist rejects his hand and declares that it is too late now. Suddenly, she notices that onlookers are crowding the doorway and balconies, advising the girl to forgive the boy. A neighbor takes her husband away so as not to bother the young people, explaining that they only came out because of the noise. Yumin tells Aizang that it is too late, and he promises to leave as soon as he makes sure she got home safely. The protagonist immediately turns and enters the doorway, and before she disappears from his sight, she asks him if she can call him. Turning around, the girl forbids him from calling her until she does so herself. Meanwhile, Hyendu tries to call Yumin, but her phone is mysteriously off. He knew she was with the professor, who is also his ex's father. But since then, the girl hasn't replied to any of his messages. At the same time, Kim Lee-sun returns home, not noticing that Yumin's phone is lying under the passenger seat. Back home and after taking off her outerwear, the protagonist collapses on the sofa. Recalling the conversation with Isun, she tries to understand how a person can love, and at the same time not feel attraction. Love is actually not that complicated. Yumin just wants everything to be much simpler. First thing in the morning, Choi Chun-woo leaves the house with a big yawn. At home, he finds Hyendu returning from running, and he got up early to avoid traffic on his business trip. Chun-woo has never seen this man so worried about something before. Upon arriving at work, Yumin texts Jae Si-han from the computer. The girl asks him to check if she left her phone in his car last night. She is a little embarrassed to have asked him not to call her and to text her the next day. But she had no choice, as she searched everywhere for the phone since morning, but couldn't find it. It turns out Jae Si-han lent his car to a friend for a business trip, so he promises to call him and ask. Suddenly, the girl sees several messages from Hyendu, who must have been worried about her disappearance. Yumin immediately texts him that she is fine and only lost her mobile. That's why she only saw his messages now, from work. While writing that nothing serious happened, the protagonist wonders if that's really the case. Hyundo replies instantly, relieved that Yumin is okay, and offers to bring her lunch later. Since he wants to see her, Jae-hee looks at her friend with surprise, who a while ago was tense and now, for no apparent reason, is smiling. Yumin suggests to Hyundo meeting later, after his restaurant closes, and hopes she will have found her phone by then. After agreeing on the date, the man hangs up, feeling great relief that she wasn't ignoring him. He realizes that this time things in his life are taking a completely different course. Seo-young is sleeping when the sound of the phone near her ear abruptly wakes her up. Upon waking, the girl answers and hears her mother's voice, surprised that she was already asleep. Seo-young asks why she is calling and if she needs money. The woman is offended that her daughter thinks she only calls to get money from her. Sejong murmurs that usually she doesn't call for any other reason. According to the mother, they deserve each other if she thinks she is good just by giving her money. The woman is sure she deserves payment for having given Sejong life. The girl interrupts her and asks her to explain what she meant by saying they deserve each other. She wonders, did her mother call Hyendu to ask him for money too? Hastily apologizing for the early call, the woman hangs up, leaving her daughter perplexed. A little later, Jae-seon informs Yumin that his friend found her phone in the car. It turns out he found it before the trip, and that's why he left it on the living room table. Jae-seon was in a big hurry that morning and probably didn't notice it. Yumin wants to pick up the phone after work, but he says he won't be home until 8. So he suggests she pick it up herself, indicating that the apartment code is still the same. It seems inappropriate to Yumin to go to his house in his absence, after they are no longer together. Since the girl still has many things to do, she will go later when he is home. And Jae-seon promises to try to come back earlier. The protagonist knows that Hyendu will be back home after 10, and it would be good if she could pick up the phone sooner. Therefore, she decides to pick up the phone and then wait for him in the park. After work, just as planned, Yumin heads to Jae-seon's house. He hands her the phone, which obviously has run out of battery, and the girl. After thanking him, she apologizes for the trouble. Looking at the clock, the protagonist realizes she still has some time. She was already leaving, and Lee Sun asks if she is going by car. But Yoo Min replies that she has to see someone else. Kim offers to accompany her to the main road so she doesn't go alone in the dark. And he calls the elevator. When the elevator doors open, Yoo Min suddenly sees Hyun-do in front of her. A girl in a hat and mask is standing in front of the closed cafe door, with a note saying they ran out of ingredients. Tae-jun, who is going out to throw away the trash, approaches her and explains that they closed earlier today. Removing her mask, the girl asks why she doesn't see the restaurant owner, and the boy recognizes Seo-young. The actress confirms her guess, recalling that they had already met once when she came to Shi for lunch. Seo-young confesses that she wanted to talk to Mr. Hyun-do, and Tae-jun guesses that she must have fallen for him on that show when he saved her. Suddenly, he realizes that she is the one his friend must be dating now. Believing that Tae-jun might be in shock to prove his relationship with Hyun-do, the girl offers to show him her messages. Seo-young begs the boy to do her a small favor. Hyun-do is at home when a message rings, and he rushes to the phone, thinking it's Yoo Min. But it turns out to be Tae-jun, who inexplicably writes that he regrets something, but he will apologize in person. Assuming his friend broke another dish in the restaurant, Hyun-do ignores the phone in silence. At that moment, the doorbell rings, and the man is startled by the surprise. He remembers giving Yoo Min his apartment number and expects to see her behind the door. Happily opening the door and anticipating the meeting, his face changes instantly upon seeing So-young. While Hyun-do tries to understand how she knew his address, she enters the apartment saying they need to talk. Removing her wig, she explains that she was at the restaurant, and Tae-jun kindly gave her the number. Seo-young asks him not to be angry. She simply needs to ask him something urgently. The girl needs to know if he ever gave money to his mother. Hyun-do confesses that it happened several times before she moved out. Upon learning that he gave her money more than once, Seo-young asks why she didn't know. With tears in her eyes, she attacks him with punches, trying to understand why he paid for her apartment. He gave money to her mother and did everything for her, even though he was also in trouble. She doesn't understand why he isn't angry or demanding to be paid for all this. Didn't he think about how humiliated she would feel upon learning all this? Pushing Seo-young away, Hyun-do replies that he only thought about his mother not bothering her. And although he sees no point in talking about it, now that everything is in the past, the girl retorts that for her it is not over yet. Calming down and wiping away her tears, she acknowledges that no normal person would ask their daughter's boyfriend for money. When Seo-young started earning money, her mother stated that she should pay for the beautiful face she had given her. She threatened to take money from Hyun-do if he refused, so he had to lie that they had broken up. It was obvious that Hyun-do knew perfectly well what kind of person his mother was, and yet he never blamed her for it. She doesn't understand how he could love her in such an unconditional way. If he stayed with her after everything that woman did, why is he abandoning her now? Choking back tears, So-young asks if it's because she is even worse than her mother. Grabbing Hyun-do by the sleeve again, she begs him to forgive her for the loneliness her ambition caused. She promises not to repeat her past mistakes and begs him to think again. But Hyun-do, pushing away So-young's hand, coldly replies that she must calm down and go home. He calls a taxi for her and goes out with her towards the elevator to accompany her to the car. Suddenly, the elevator stops on the 4th floor, and he, looking up from his phone, sees Yoo Min in front of him. Kim Jae-seon greets the neighbor, assuming that he apparently closed the restaurant early today. He enters the elevator and calls Yoo Min, who for some reason has lagged behind. As the elevator goes down, Hyun-do does not take his eyes off the protagonist, who is standing with her head bowed. Finally, she looks up and sees the intense gaze of the man piercing her. Hyun-do turns around, and at that moment Yoo Min hears a sob behind her. Upon turning, she sees a girl standing in the corner and suddenly notices a phone in her hands. The protagonist remembers that Seo-chung had exactly the same phone, in a very unusual color. She looks closely at the girl, not believing what she sees in her eyes. Could it really be her? The elevator finally reaches the ground floor, and the three of them, except Hyun-do, exit one after another in silence. Without a second thought, the protagonist suddenly stops dead. Yoo Min suddenly realizes that all this is wrong, and she cannot just abandon Hyun-do like this. She was about to tell Jae-seon that she wouldn't go through with it, when she feels someone grab her arm. Upon turning, the girl looks directly into Hyun-do's eyes, and she feels her heart race at that moment. The man, without saying anything, pushes Yoo Min into the elevator and turns to Sejong. Wishes her a good trip. Both she and Kim remain in shock for a few seconds, not understanding what is happening. Reacting, Jae-seon runs after Yoo Min, not understanding what Hyun-do is doing. But the elevator doors close right in front of him.